Marvel, it starts when it links with a great clock of the Super God Academy. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276 Arriving at Amaji, Reina's Mixed Emotions. Angel Nebula, Mellow Heaven. This is the holy angel city created by the Heavenly Blade King Keisha, the Apocalypse King Liangbing, the Heavenly Foundation King Hexi and many female angels. Although only one of the three angel kings, the Heavenly Foundation King Hexi, is left here, this place has long become a sanctuary in the hearts of almost all female angels and the most important home in their minds. If we really have to give up this place, how critical will the situation be? Li Qingyun thought so in his heart, but he still kept a normal mind and followed Angel Yan into Mellow Heaven. At this time, Mellow Heaven, from the outside, seemed to be nothing unusual. Even though the holy Keisha had fallen, everything here was still running normally, and the various defense nodes on the way here also seemed relatively quiet. After entering Mellow Heaven, a group of people came directly to the Angel Hall. At this moment in this hall, the Heavenly Foundation King Hexi was sitting on the throne, and there were 20 or 30 angels holding spears on both sides below. Li Qingyun just glanced casually and confirmed that most of the angels in front of him were over 10,000 years old. In other words, they were basically high-level angels in the Mellow Heaven before Angel Yan joined the Angel Corps. It can be said that in the hearts of these angels, the prestige and status of Xianji King Hexi are much higher than that of Angel Yan, the former Holy Left Wing Guard and the current Angel King. This posture looks like it's aimed at you. Li Qingyun looked at Angel Yan on the side. Although the new Angel King has been recognized by the Holy Keisha, he has not passed the test of Xianji King Hexi. Hexi's display of power here today is clearly saying that Angel Yan is not qualified to be the Angel King, and she still needs to be trained. Keisha has long said that she will let Xianji King Hexi give me enough tests. I am ready to meet all these tests, Angel Yan said, and then walked forward and stood face to face with Xianji King Hexi. Since we already know the reason, then those who have nothing to do with it should leave first, Xianji King Hexi said, and her eyes fell on Li Qingyun intentionally or unintentionally. She had already received the information that Holy Keisha conveyed to her through the Holy Knowledge Treasury, and she even tried to secretly observe what kind of person Li Qingyun was. Unfortunately, Li Qingyun's data was extremely confidential. No matter what his eye did, she could not break through the dark data blockade around Li Qingyun, and there was no way to read any information about Li Qingyun. What she knew now was just some superficial information about Li Qingyun from Angel Yan and other angels, as well as some things that Li Qingyun showed on Earth. However, these cannot be used to fully judge a person's true situation. Zhizhen, take them to their rest area first. When I finish my business here, I will find you again. Please. I looked at the angel Zhizhen. Yes, teacher, Zhizhen agreed. She is Yi's student, and no one in the entire Mellow Heavenly Court does not know this. Let's go. I'll take you to rest first. Zhizhen came forward to lead the way for Li Qingyun and the others. The guest follows the host's wishes. We'll do whatever you arrange. Li Qingyun did not refuse and followed Zhizhen to leave the angel hall. After they left, the other angels were also driven away. Only the Heavenly Base King Hexi and the Angel Yan were left in the whole hall. In fact, Li Qingyun knew everything the two of them did afterwards. It's not that he knew it because he had seen it before he traveled through time, but with his current ability, he could directly sense everything that happened in the Mellow Heavenly Court. Under the leadership of Zhizhen, Li Qingyun, Qilin, Sultan, and Reina were arranged in a relatively secluded courtyard. Other angels had already taken care of this place, so now everything was arranged properly. They could stay at any time and would not feel any discomfort. Sister Na, why are you always so depressed? After the angels left, Qilin and Reina sat together, sitting on the stone table in the courtyard, chatting. No, Reina shook her head, but her face could tell her mood at a glance. You probably didn't tell Panjin about coming to Mellow Heaven, right? Li Qingyun also walked over, and Thornton, who followed behind him, was gnawing on a big leg of lamb. No, Reina still shook her head. She was captured by the demon army and then directly controlled by the god of death Karl, which forced Panjin to make a deal with the god of death Karl. Now Reina felt that she still owed Pan Zhen something, so she was not willing to discuss anything with Pan Zhen directly. Pan Zhen must know Reina's situation, but Pan Zhen also understood that Reina was still too young and had to experience many things by herself before she could figure it out completely. You should take the initiative to tell him. Although he is only your guardian and your subordinate, he is actually the one who raised you. It is not too much to say that he is half your father. The child went out without telling his family. Who knows how worried he is, Li Qingyun persuaded. But Pan Zhen should be very busy now. Lina was still hesitant. She really didn't want to disturb Pan Zhen because of her own affairs. In fact, she felt very uncomfortable because she knew the special relationship between her and Pan Zhen, and the high expectations of Pan Zhen and everyone on the entire Liang Star. She was just a girl in her 20s, but everyone on the entire Liang Star expected her to become the main god who led them to restore their former glory. This pressure was too heavy. Don't make excuses for yourself, Li Qingyun directly exposed Lina's thoughts. Tell him about your current troubles and your true thoughts. In addition, you have to remind him to pay attention to the Xiandao Tower. Someone may want to sabotage it recently, Li Qingyun said, and his last sentence made Lina stand up suddenly. If she just talked to Pan Zhen about her current situation, Lina would still be reluctant to do it, but if this involved the Xiandao Tower, she could no longer act like a child. The Xiandao Tower is the key to maintaining the survival of the entire Liang Star, and there must be no mistakes in that place. Chapter 277 The God of Chaos and the Guardian of the Fiery Sun. Since it was about the Heavenly Dao Tower, Reina dared not neglect it in the slightest. She directly connected to Pan Zhen's communication and told Pan Zhen exactly what Li Qingyun said. After the topic was opened, Reina naturally told Pan Zhen about her current situation, and the two of them had a good chat. The relationship between the two was originally very good, but because of their different positions and different ways of thinking, it was difficult for them to communicate with each other. Now that the two of them had talked about the topic, more than half of the obstacles between them were eliminated, and they could get along more harmoniously in the future. This monarch and ministers were of the same mind and virtue, and they would be able to play a greater role in protecting the Heavenly Dao Liang in the future. Pan Zhen said that he wanted to talk to you. Reina came to Li Qingyun. This time, the reconciliation between her and Pan Zhen was facilitated by Li Qingyun, and she should have thanked Li Qingyun. But Li Qingyun mentioned that the Heavenly Dao Tower might be invaded, which made Pan Zhen suspicious. He wanted to talk to Li Qingyun, and she couldn't refuse. Well, let him access the Red Star System's communication channel to find me, Li Qingyun nodded. Although the Red Star series did not leave a model specifically for Reina as an auxiliary, as the former captain of the SYNOPSIS company, Reina still had a high level of authority. She could naturally give out access to a communication channel. However, this was to let other people in after all, and Reina asked for Li Qingyun's consent, which was also a kind of respect for the earth and Li Qingyun. Soon, Pan Zhen's communication came in. First of all, thank you for your guidance to Reina. After Pan Zhen came in, he still took a very gentle approach. She has helped SYNOPSIS company and the earth a lot on my earth, and we should do good things to her. On the contrary, we failed to protect Reina before, allowing her to be controlled by the people of the Demon Legion and captured by the Death God Karl. This is our fault, and I should apologize to you. People respect me 1 foot, and I respect them 10 feet. Pan Zhen was polite, so Li Qingyun naturally talked to him politely. The past is the past, and this was done intentionally by the devil and the god of death. Even if Reina is not on Earth, I'm afraid they will come to Liang Star to capture her. From the moment that the god of death Karl came to Pan Zhen to make a deal, Pan Zhen actually understood what was going on. In the entire known universe today, the only thing capable of killing Holy Kesha is Reina's supernova. To bomb a black hole and obtain black hole matter, only Xiandao Liang has this technology. Therefore, the god of death Karl and Morgana must capture Reina no matter what. No matter where Reina was at the time, the result would be the same. You asked Reina to remind me that there might be a sneak attack on the Xiandao Tower. Do you have any information? Pan Zhen's responsibility is to protect the safety of Xiandao Star, and the biggest danger to Xiandao Star comes from the planet itself. The existence of the Xiandao Tower allows the broken Xiandao Star to survive, but if the Xiandao Tower is invaded and destroyed, then the entire Xiandao Liang will really be heading for doomsday. I didn't get any information, but the result is obvious, Li Qingyun said. Death God Karl captured Reina and wanted to get the secrets about the light of the sun from Reina. When he failed to get it, he used Reina to exchange with you and asked you to help him achieve the goal of obtaining black hole matter. So we can be very clear that Death God Karl needs to master the technology of driving stars. This related technology should be hidden in your Xiandao tower, right? Pan Zhen naturally understood what Li Qingyun said at this moment. But, does Death God Karl really dare to do this? Don't think that Death God Karl will not dare to take any action with you around. Now that Karl has obtained enough black hole matter with your help, do you think he will use this black hole matter to create a few powerful warriors? Li Qingyun said, and his words made Pan Zhen's face gloomy immediately. If it was just the current Death God Karl, Pan Zhen would not be afraid, because Death God Karl has only one Snow under his command, and Snow's strength is not as good as Pan Zhen. If he comes, Pan Zhen can suppress him alone. In addition, Xiandao Liang is not the Earth, with only a dozen super warriors. Xiandao Star has the Shen Set army under its command. These are all serious super warriors, and they have experienced thousands of years of evolution. Although they are not as good as the Angel Legion and the Demon Legion, they are definitely not comparable to the Teodi Legion. But now Li Qingyun's words gave him a reminder. The terror of the Death God Karl is not the military power he currently possesses, but the technology and knowledge he has mastered that far exceeds the current major civilizations of the gods. The power of the black hole material that can drive several stars to bombard the black hole must be very huge. The strength of the warriors created by applying these materials must be extraordinary. In this case, the Death God Karl will definitely create a more powerful super warrior. At that time, with absolute strength, he does not need to send troops over. Just one or two sneaking in will be enough to put Xiandao Star into a huge crisis. I understand what you mean, thank you for your reminder. This time, Pan Zhen really felt that Li Qingyun gave him a very critical reminder. If it weren't for Li Qingyun's reminder, he would not have realized the crisis that Liang New Institute was about to face. Maybe the entire Xiandao Liang would face a catastrophe because of his negligence. Do you want me to give you another suggestion? Li Qingyun was not just reminding Pan Zhen casually. I'm all ears, Pan Zhen answered solemnly. Although your Xiandao Liang is still one of the so-called four major civilizations, it has actually begun to decline. Although you have been doing your best to maintain the status of Liang Star, the environment and resources of Liang Star have always restricted your development, so that in the past 10,000 years, Xiandao Liang has not made any further progress in the development of civilization. If you don't make progress, you will be backward, not to mention the Angel Legion and the Demon Legion, which are already very powerful civilizations, even the current Teodi Legion, with the support of the God of Death Karl. Its development speed will increase rapidly in the near future. The advantages of Xiandao Liang have long disappeared. Li Qingyun's words made Pan Zhen completely silent. Chapter 278, Cooperation is beneficial to both sides, but separation is harmful to both sides. He had known about these problems for a long time, but he had no way to deal with them. Although Pan Zhen had the strength of a main god, he was not a main god after all, and he could not truly lead Liang to glory. It was precisely because of this that he had such strong expectations for Lina and made such strict demands. What do you want to say? Pan Zhen asked. He wanted to know Li Qingyun's true intention. I want to promote the integration of the two civilizations with you. Li Qingyun wanted to strengthen the Earth, but the entire development process from scratch would take a long time to achieve, even if it was accelerated. But if it was directly integrated into a broken main god civilization during this development process, this time could be greatly shortened. Integration? Do you mean you want to annex us? Pan Zhen's tone was heavy. This was a major event related to the survival of the Xiandao Liang civilization. I don't intend to annex you, I'm just talking about simple integration, Li Qingyun said. You are now in a state of decline. Perhaps when Reina grows up, she can lead you back to the top, but the God of Death Karl will not give you this opportunity, and the Earth is now under my leadership and is in a stage of vigorous development. With me and the power of the galaxy, the Earth will rise rapidly in the future and become the new and most powerful civilization in the universe. The God of Death Karl will not give us a chance to rise. Is he willing to give your Earth time to develop? Pan Zhen said. The God of Death Karl would never let the enemy grow gradually. Li Qingyun used this to remind Pan Zhen, and Pan Zhen would naturally use this to remind Li Qingyun. You are right. The God of Death Karl would not be willing to give our Earth such a development time. Li Qingyun did not intend to avoid this fact from the beginning. Whether it is fading or full of vigor, in the eyes of the Styx group, which is now at its peak, we are all targets that can be easily controlled. But if we two work together and concentrate our strength, can the god of death Karl still suppress us? This is Li Qingyun's idea, to integrate the Liang civilization, a civilization on the verge of subversion, into the rapidly developing Earth civilization. Today, with Li Qingyun in charge of the Earth, with his powerful strength as the god of chaos, he is not afraid of any invaders. But it is very difficult for the Earth to go out. Because the overall strength of the Earth is not good enough, and the manpower is seriously insufficient. Compared with the Earth, the situation of the Xiandao civilization is probably even worse. On the Earth side, at least there is the fighting Buddha Sun Wukong who can cooperate with Li Qingyun, and the people of the Xiangbinglian are also growing rapidly. But on the Xiandao Liang side, the only truly powerful one is Pan Zhen. Others such as Reina and Xiaoyang are still very young, and their experience and strength are still far behind. However, Xiandao Liang also has advantages that Earth does not have, that is, its perfect super god civilization technology foundation and the organized Shen-Sen army. Thousands of years ago, you sent people to Earth. Wasn't your purpose to plan in advance so that you could transfer the residents of your Xiandao civilization from Liang Star to Earth? Now I take the initiative to invite you. Although I won't let you really settle on Earth. We have Mars and Venus here. We even have the heart of the Earth that can create planets. We are fully capable of creating a new planet suitable for you to live in. The fusion of the two civilizations indicates the combination of the strength of the two civilizations. We have powerful super warriors, many of whom have the potential to become the Lord God or even the Supreme God in the future. You have the Shen-Sen army and the Yangxiao heavenly court. Your army and celestial spacecraft can directly help us form a complete legion, so that we have the capital to be on an equal footing with the Angel Legion, the Demon Legion and the Styx group. Together is good for both sides, and to separate is bad for both sides. Now it depends on you, how you choose. Li Qingyun has made everything very clear. The fusion of their two civilizations will surely allow them to rapidly improve their overall strength and have the ability to truly compete with the other three major civilizations. If they are separated, they will only be inferior. The Earth is only a pre-nuclear civilization. Even if it develops rapidly, it is just like the Teoti, and it will not be valued by other civilizations. Pan Zhen's reputation is very loud. Even the demon king Morgana is afraid of him, and the god of death Karl wants to cooperate with him, but in fact, all of them look down on Xiandao Liang. Otherwise, why would they capture Rana and force her to be kidnapped? This matter is too important. I can't make a decision immediately. Pan Zhen did not refuse directly, because he knew that all this was just as Li Qingyun said, and it would be most beneficial for them to join forces. But he couldn't agree directly. First, he was not the main god. Since he was not the main god, he could not directly represent the will of the entire civilization like the main god. Second, once they decided on Li Qingyun's fusion plan, it meant that they had to directly abandon the current Liang star and move the entire civilization to the solar system. This is a huge project, and it will determine the foundation of Xiandao Liang. He must consider it more carefully and weigh the pros and cons. I'm not in a hurry. At this time, the god of death Karl should not have directly created a powerful void god. His army also needs to be retrained. He will not attack both of us in a short time, Li Qingyun said. Then, I will seriously consider your suggestion. I will contact you again when I make a decision. In addition, I will leave Rena in your care for the time being. Please take good care of her so that she can return to Earth safely. Pan Zhen did not say to return to Liang Star, because he did not plan to let Rena come back now. His main concern was Rena's safety on the Angel Nebula. That place is the garrison of the Angel Legion, and there is also a Xianji Wang Hexi there. Although the Angel civilization has never had any conflicts with them, it is an unfamiliar civilization after all, and it has always acted strongly in the past. If Rena has any conflicts with their people there, she must be taken care of. Don't worry, since I brought her here, I will naturally bring her back intact, Li Qingyun said. Okay, Pan Zhen agreed, and then ended the call. He should talk to the people in the Elders' Council next, and also report the situation to the person in the Heavenly Dao Tower. Although it was just an illusion, he was his old master after all. Chapter 279-88 with Xianji Wang Hexi. Although Pan Zhen did not respond to the conversation immediately, Li Qingyun knew that this proposal would be agreed to. Because in fact, The gap between Li Qingyun and Earth is not just what Li Qingyun said. With Li Qingyun, the god of death Karl would never prioritize Earth, but Li Qingyun's star is different. That place looks powerful, but it is actually in danger. Even if only one strong man is sent out to sneak in and destroy the operating mechanism of the Heavenly Dao Tower, the entire Li Qingyun star can be completely destroyed. Therefore, the Heavenly Dao Li Qingyun is actually much more dangerous than the Earth. For the continuation of the Heavenly Dao civilization, Panzhen must consider a way out as soon as possible. And the Earth is their only way out. The next morning, Angel Yan came. At this time, she was very different from yesterday. Li Qingyun could tell at a glance that Angel Yan at this time already had a little temperament of a king. The sacred body and the sacred knowledge treasure house are also fully connected to its super gene system, and it has the real potential of a king. It seems that the test that Hizai set for you is still very helpful to you, Li Qingyun sighed. The ability of this Xianji King Hizai is really too comprehensive. He has amazing combat power, strong scientific research ability, and even excellent in training students and juniors. Angel Zixin has been under her command for only a few hundred years, and he can become the Holy Right Wing Guard. He is now a real existence in the Angel Corps that can be on par with Angel Yan. This is when Angel Yan does not have a king-level configuration. Hizai's so-called test is actually more about teaching me how to use my own abilities. She is helping me become stronger. Angel Yan is still very grateful to Hizai. At least this Xianji King Hizai really fulfilled the instructions of Holy Kesha to her. It can be said that it is a great fortune for Mellow Heaven to have Xianji King Hizai. It is because of Hizai that Mellow Heaven can still stabilize the current situation even when Holy Kesha has fallen. Hizai is really amazing. Li Qingyun was not stingy with his praise for Xianji King Hizai. In fact, it was because he knew these abilities of Xianji King that he came to Mellow Heavenly Court to find her. If Li Qingyun could get the help and assistance of such a comprehensive top-level main god, he would be able to go further in the future and realize many of his past conjectures more quickly. Perhaps, when he returns to the Marvel Universe, he will be able to directly cross the limitations of dimensions, create a space dimension that truly belongs to him, and become a true dimensional god. Hizai's power is beyond doubt. After Angel Yan said this, he was silent for a moment, and then looked at Li Qingyun again. She told me that the purpose of your coming to Mellow Heavenly Court was for her. Is this true? Angel Yan asked. In fact, when she first learned the news, she was very shocked. She even had an inexplicable sense of vigilance in her heart, just like when Keelin faced her. But later on, thinking about it, Hizai was one of the three angel kings of the same era as Kesha. People like her should not care about love affairs anymore, and should not compete with her for men. So, gradually, she abandoned this idea. However, seeing Li Qingyun at this moment, she still couldn't help but want to ask what Li Qingyun was thinking. Yes, I did come to Mellow Heaven for Hizai. Li Qingyun did not deny it. What do you plan to do with her? Angel Yan frowned slightly, and Keelin, who heard the conversation not far away, also looked over vigilantly at this time. What specifically to do, I can't tell you now, Li Qingyun smiled. He has not officially announced his identity to the outside world yet. In the entire universe, only the principle of space and the Holy Kesha know his true identity. So, he will naturally not tell Angel Yan and Keelin about all this now. At least he will not tell anyone before he really solves the crisis of this super god universe. Since she has mentioned it to you, she must be ready to see me. Li Qingyun has been here for a day. Although the two met when they first arrived yesterday, it was in a formal occasion, and the protagonist at that time was Angel Yan, so he had no chance to talk to Hizai. Hizai did tell you to go find her when you are free, Angel Yan said. Well, I'll go there now. Li Qingyun was a little impatient, and he took off directly into the air and flew to the area where Xianji Wang Hizai was. However, he did not notice that his impatient action at this moment made the faces of the two people watching behind him suddenly stiffen. Angel Yan and Keelin, both of them looked at each other involuntarily. I don't know why, at this moment, the two of them subconsciously let go of the original grudges between each other, and instead had a feeling of common hatred against the enemy. They both fell in love with the same person at the same time, so they naturally felt hostile to each other. But when these two people who had been competing all the time suddenly discovered the strong arrival of a third person, the original hostility would be cancelled, and an alliance would be formed immediately. They would subconsciously unite to deal with the other person together. This state is not uncommon in relationships. Li Qingyun, who was rushing to the area where Xianzhi Wang Hexi was, did not know about the changes between Xianzhi Yan and Qilin. He was only thinking about how to win over Xianzhi Wang Hexi and how to make her his most capable assistant and follow him back to the Marvel Universe in the future. Soon, he came to the place where Xianzhi Wang Hexi was. This is a quiet garden with lush flowers and plants, fluttering butterflies, and a quiet fragrance that makes people feel very comfortable when they smell it. This place is really nice, Li Qingyun sighed, and his eyes had already fallen on the pavilion not far away. The pavilion is beside the pond, with sparse lotus leaves and a few blooming lotus flowers below, and between the lotus leaves and lotus flowers, there are golden and red fish swimming. I have lived for 30,000 years, and there is not much fun in life. Planting flowers and raising fish is just to kill time, Hizai said, and then threw all the fish food in her hand into the water below. She slowly turned around and looked at Li Qingyun, who had just arrived and looked a little dusty. This man with a mysterious identity, even the holy Kesha said that she hoped she could carefully consider the relationship with him. At this moment, Hizai also wanted to find out what kind of person he was. Chapter 280 The Shock from the Small Universe. Since you want to kill time, do you want to join me to explore a more mysterious world? Li Qingyun said. He was worried about how to tell Xianzhi King Hexi that he wanted to invite her to his side. Now that he heard Hexi's words, he immediately asked according to her meaning. The message Keisha left me said that you want to recruit me to your side. How do you recruit me? Hexi remained calm and composed. She has experienced too many things in her life, and her state of mind has long been different from that of ordinary people. Now she is almost reaching the state of having no desires. If she didn't have a little responsibility in her heart to protect this Xianzhen and wait for the appearance of a suitable new angel king, she would have retired long ago. Rather than recruiting, it's better to say it's an invitation. I invite you to join me to explore the deeper mysteries of the universe, Li Qingyun said. Explore the mysteries of the universe? Then you should go find Carl and Morgana. The whole universe knows that the two people who want to explore the mysteries of the universe the most are these two. One talks about the void every day, and the other also rebelled against the mellow heavenly court in order to study time, space and eternity. These two are pure lunatics. It is equivalent to seeking death to find them to explore the mysteries of the universe together. Li Qingyun gave his answer without thinking. Yes, these two are indeed not people who live in peace. I didn't think there was anything wrong. The god of death Carl and the demon king Morgana were indeed very dangerous. Even if they were influenced by some reasons and agreed to cooperate with Li Qingyun, when they discovered something in the process of research in the future, they would immediately have a huge disagreement with Li Qingyun and finally embark on a path of hostility. It's not that all this is only aimed at Li Qingyun, but they are like this. The god of death Carl was originally a mentor at the super seminary. It goes without saying how good the relationship between him and the principal of space is. He even gave the big clock to Carl when he went to explore higher dimensions. But now, Carl has become the biggest enemy of the super seminary. Morgana is also like this. She and Keisha are sisters, but because of the disagreement between them on whether to concentrate resources on developing a new supreme god or provide resources to more angels, Morgana's rebellion finally turned into a direct rebellion. Regardless of who is right or wrong on the issue of ideas, this was originally just a disagreement in consciousness, but it has developed to the point of stabbing Keisha in the back. Isn't this a bit too much? So, there is no one more suitable to invite than you, Li Qingyun smiled. It was because he had the same idea as Hizai that he did not go to find the death god Carl and Morgana. Otherwise, when he was on Earth, he could have proposed this idea when he first met Morgana. The reason makes sense, but why should I accept your invitation? Hizai looked at Li Qingyun. This was someone he had just met for the first time. He even knew only some legends about him. How could he judge that he was willing to help him? Now, she is the heavenly king of mellow heaven. When Holy Kesha was still there, she was second to none. Now that Kesha is gone, although there is a new angel king, her status has not declined at all, but has risen sharply. If Hizai wants, she can immediately become the second Pan-Zhen. In the entire mellow heaven, even if everyone knows that Angel Yan is the new angel king, her orders will make everyone dare not disobey. To put it nicely, this is called the guardian of civilization, and to put it bluntly, it is the regent. Didn't you see that she sat directly on the throne yesterday, and few people dared to question it? In this case, when she is already high above and no one can match her, she has to serve as a subordinate for others. This kind of thing is unreasonable no matter how you look at it. Some things, just saying it, may not have a significant effect, Li Qingyun said, and then pointed to the side. At the end of his finger, orange energy flowed out and condensed into a space door in midair. Let's go to another place. Once there, I can let you feel more clearly why I came to you. Li Qingyun decided to take Hizai to experience it in person, to let her see for herself what kind of cosmic secrets he was going to let her explore. Also, why was Li Qingyun willing to come to Hizai, and even had a high degree of confidence in persuading Hizai? Okay, Hizai stood up directly, and she walked towards the space gate. Don't you need to change your clone? When Hizai was about to enter the space gate, Li Qingyun suddenly asked. I believe in Keisha. After Hizai finished speaking, he entered the space gate without the slightest hesitation. Do you believe in Keisha? Li Qingyun repeated this sentence, but shook his head helplessly. After all, he was just a stranger. How could Hizai trust him with just a few words? The reason why Hizai was talking to him so unguardedly now, and was even willing to directly enter the strange space gate he opened, was all because of Keisha. It was Keisha who first told Hexie about Li Qingyun's situation, and even said that she wanted Hexie to think about the issue of her lifelong affairs, so Hexie believed Li Qingyun. It's not that she would be willing to entrust her lifelong affairs to Li Qingyun, but she at least believed that the person Keisha liked would not be someone with ulterior motives and wanted to harm her. Moreover, she was confident enough that even if she really encountered any danger, with Li Qingyun's current ability, he could not kill her. However, when she walked through the space gate and entered the strange space, she was suddenly shocked. She stood there, looking around, looking at the appearance of this space, but she couldn't even move her feet. Li Qingyun came in soon and stood beside Hexie. Hexie turned around and looked at Li Qingyun with a shocked and confused look. This is a small world, a small universe independent of the real universe outside. Li Qingyun knew what Hexie wanted to ask, so he told her the answer directly. Really, Hizai's ability is powerful. She can rely on her ability to instantly understand the situation dozens of light years away. Now, she is here and can easily see the end of the world. So the moment she came in, she was completely shocked. She didn't expect that there really is such a strange space as the microcosm in this world. And it is in Li Qingyun's hands. Chapter 281 The Secret Revealed to Hizai. How did you find this small universe? After a long time, Hizai finally recovered from the shock. She began to think seriously about Li Qingyun's identity. It was not the identity of the student of the principal of the space school or the god of chaos on Earth, but his real identity. This is what I brought from other worlds. It exists in a gem. While Li Qingyun was speaking, he took out the soul gem. The orange gem was emitting a faint light at this moment, but the energy contained in it could make Hizai, the king of the sky base, shocked at a glance. What kind of gem is this? How can it contain such rich energy? Hizai looked at the gem in Li Qingyun's hand, stretched out her right hand, gently touched the edge of the gem, and felt a breath of energy. This is the soul gem, one of the 5 infinite gems I got in that world, Li Qingyun said, and in his hand, he summoned 4 more. The red reality gem, the golden mind gem, the purple power gem, and the blue space gem. It's a pity that Li Qingyun has never obtained the green time stone. Otherwise, with 6 infinity stones in hand, the power that Li Qingyun can control can be more comprehensive. Infinity stones. Hizai stared at the 5 stones carefully, feeling the energy in the stones. It seems that each of these stones contains a strange energy. Hizai's knowledge is so profound that even if she doesn't know what these infinity stones in Li Qingyun's hand are, she can still find their strangeness after a careful understanding. Yes, each of them contains a unique power of the law of the universe. Li Qingyun nodded and said. This blue one is the space stone. It can control space, open the door of space, and control the power of space. These are its abilities, and this red one is the reality stone. It can rewrite reality. This purple one is the power stone, which controls power. This golden one is the mind stone, which can control the mind and thoughts. As for this orange one, it is the most bizarre of all the infinity stones. It can control the soul. Li Qingyun explained one by one, and there was no hiding of the information of these infinity stones. Space, reality, power, mind, and even soul are all there, but why is there no time? Hizai had also studied the universe a long time ago. Among the laws of the universe, Time, space, matter and energy are the 4 basic laws. Among these 6 infinity stones, mind and soul involve life itself. But energy, space and reality are the basic laws of the universe. Since there are already 4 of the 4 laws, why is there no time? Is the rule of time too mysterious, or is there something wrong with the rule of time in that world? This infinity stone is a set. Since there are 5 of them, there must be a time stone, but I didn't get it. Li Qingyun felt a little regretful when he talked about this. The time stone was kept in the hands of the Ancient One, but the Ancient One would not give it to him, and Li Qingyun never thought of snatching it directly. You have already got 5 of the 6, but you let go of the last one. It seems that the last one is in the hands of someone you are not sure of dealing with, Hizai said. It's not that I am not sure of dealing with it, but there is no reason and no need, Li Qingyun said. The time stone has actually been by my side all the time, not far away from me, but the person who holds the time stone is a guardian of the earth in that world. She has protected the earth for hundreds of years. As the main god of the earth, how can I have the nerve to forcibly take it from her? Li Qingyun explained. Is there also an earth in that world? Hizai is now more and more curious about the world that Li Qingyun is talking about. Of course there are, and not only in that world, but also in many worlds. Li Qingyun is a time traveler. For him, whether it is the Super God universe or the Marvel universe, these are just virtual worlds created by people in the real world, and most of these created virtual worlds are based on the Earth as the core of the story. Since the stories all take place on Earth, there will naturally be an Earth. Is it the multiverse theory? Hizai thought of many technological conjectures in the pre-nuclear civilization era before the God-making era appeared in the past. Even now in the universe, many civilizations have such ideas, and they appeared before the Earth. It's just that with the advent of the God-making era, people began to truly explore the universe and understand the origin of the universe. Gradually, they also knew that there is no so-called multiverse in this world, but they tend to study this so-called void. This is the influence caused by the world structure, which is created by the nature of the universe and cannot be interfered with by human power. I prefer to call it the dimensional universe, multiverse. This theory is common in the Marvel universe, and there are countless multiverses. But the multiverse of the Marvel world cannot be explained by the multiverse theory. Therefore, Li Qingyun defined it as a dimensional universe, which was actually determined by the research of the principle of space in this regard. When the principle of space was exploring the high-dimensional world, he broke through the limitations of the universe and fell into the gap between dimensions, which led to the appearance of Li Qingyun. Li Qingyun forcibly combined the abilities and powers of the 2 worlds, thus creating the ability to break through the dimension, so Li Qingyun was able to travel between dimensional universes. Dimensional universe, Hizai repeated this word, and began to think about what the metaverse in Li Qingyun's mouth meant. I came to the Super God universe because the principle of space has done me a favor, and he hopes that I can come here to save the main biological world that is about to be destroyed. Li Qingyun began to talk about the reason why he appeared in this world, and was about to say his final true plan. In my original plan, I only had to prevent Holy Kesha from falling, and then quickly train up super soldiers like the heroic company on Earth. By then, I could naturally restrict the development of God of Death Karl, and the Void Age would not come. But Holy Kesha's choice and the intervention of the principle of space have disrupted my plan. Li Qingyun could have solved all of this easily, but now he has to let God of Death Karl realize his plan, and all the responsibility falls on Kesha and the principle of space. Chapter 282, The Idea of Upgrading the Dark Plane to Dark Dimension Universe. With the fall of Kesha, there is no one in the universe who can directly suppress the God of Death Karl, although I have finally completed the reconstruction of the Dark Matter Plane. The Red Star series is online, and the Void Controller has also been completed, but the God of Death Karl also has a lot of black hole matter in his hands. He can already create a group of powerful warriors with his black hole matter, Li Qingyun said so. With these strange abilities in your hands, there is no way to deal with the God of Death Karl. Hizai picked up the blue gem in Li Qingyun's hand, which contained the power of space. I can feel that you still have a power in your body that is more powerful than these infinite gems. These powers are combined with your 4th-generation divine body. There should be no opponent in the entire universe who can compete with you. What Hizai said at this moment was inferred based on her own strength. At least, Hizai can be sure that she is no match for Li Qingyun with her strength. Death Karl has the celestial computer clock, and he is now an illusion. His supergene data has long been uploaded to higher dimensional space. It is probably difficult to kill him with conventional power alone. Li Qingyun naturally knew that his current power was almost unmatched in the universe. He was confident that he could suppress the main god-level strongmen like Morgana, Pan Zhen, and Izai. But the problem is that Death Carl is not an ordinary main god. When he was in the Marvel Universe, Li Qingyun had learned about the situation of Death Carl in detail through the Big Clock. He knew very well how powerful Death Carl was. Illusion is already a technology that breaks through dimensions. If you want to kill this cross-dimensional power, you must at least have the same level of dimensional power. If it was in the Marvel Universe, with the power of chaos magic in Li Qingyun's body, Li Qingyun could directly attack Death Carl himself, making Death Carl's illusion become a reality and become an existence that can be destroyed. But this is the Super God universe, and Li Qingyun has no way of knowing what the higher dimension hidden in his illusion is like. Even the principle of space could not provide him with more relevant information. Therefore, Li Qingyun needed to study the dimension, and it would be best to start from the small world he owned. It was for this reason that Li Qingyun needed to find a strong helper to help him, and for this helper, Li Qingyun chose Izai. You should have thought about the solution a long time ago, right? Izai looked at Li Qingyun. She didn't think that this man would do something that he was completely unsure of. Dimensional space technology, this is a technology I have already started to study when I was in that world, Li Qingyun replied. According to my idea, once this technology is realized, I can completely transform the dark matter plane space into a concrete dimensional space. The energy in this space can gradually evolve into a small universe, or even the scale of the real universe, so that its owner can achieve true infinity in energy and other aspects. You want to directly transform the dark matter plane into a small universe. Izai was shocked again. She was shocked by Li Qingyun's idea, and even more shocked by the feasibility of this idea. If this was proposed by someone else, even if this person was wholly Kisha, Izai would find it impossible. Because the dark matter plane space is originally just a special space between reality and illusion in the universe. It can serve as a transit station for super warrior energy, and can convert various equipment and abilities through this dark matter plane space. But this dark matter plane space is only opened up in the universe after all. How can it be completely independent from the universe and become a brand new universe? And the so-called universe is not just a large space. But this question was raised by Li Qingyun, and now Izai is standing in such an independent small universe. Follow me. Li Qingyun did not rush to explain, but turned and flew towards the edge of the small universe. Izai was shocked at the moment. Facing these actions of Li Qingyun, she did not refuse at all, but chose to follow closely. The two spread their wings of time and space, and quickly shuttled in this small universe in a way that exceeded the speed of light. During the period, they entered the wormhole many times to shuttle, but they still spent several hours before they finally stopped. After they stopped, the space in front of them was no longer the empty space, but a blurry orange barrier. Where is this? Izai looked at the barrier in front of him and asked in confusion. This is the boundary of this small universe, Li Qingyun explained. In the real universe, we can't find its boundary. Even the principal of the space school spent tens of thousands of years and never reached the end of the real universe, but this is a small world, a small universe that belongs to the soul gem, so we can reach its boundary, and the orange light curtain in the boundary should be the cosmic membrane of this small universe. Li Qingyun discovered the existence of the cosmic membrane of the small world a long time ago, and he has even been studying and analyzing this cosmic membrane for a long time. But so far, he has not studied it thoroughly. By the way, if we want to completely distinguish the two universes, there must be some kind of force that can separate them. In other words, there should be such a barrier between the universes, so that the two sides cannot communicate with each other. After all, Izai is a top technology god who has lived for tens of thousands of years. She just looked at the cosmic membrane in front of her, and then thought of the idea proposed by Li Qingyun before, and she quickly figured out the purpose of Li Qingyun bringing her here. The reason why the dark matter plane space cannot be separated from the universe itself no matter how secretive it is that its space itself has always been connected to the universe, but if we can find a way to use a special energy to completely separate the dark matter plane space from the universe, then the dark matter plane space can naturally become a completely independent dimension. This is the small universe. The cosmic membrane of the small universe itself is the energy material that separates the two universes. If this cosmic membrane is applied to the dark matter plane space, it can naturally do all this. As long as this step is achieved, Then your previous idea can be realized, Hizai said, and the more she talked, the more excited she became, because she suddenly found that what she was studying and exploring at this moment had surpassed all her past research and cognition. This is what Li Qingyun said, The Mystery of the Universe. Chapter 283 Hizai's Emotional Ups and Downs. Yes, I think so too. Li Qingyun knew that Hizai had fully invested in it. The secrets he showed and what Hizai had touched at this moment had made the heart of the long-dormant Xianji King Hizai active again. I really did not make the wrong choice. You are indeed the most suitable person to study this technology with me, Li Qingyun said with a little excitement. How about joining us formally and starting research together? Li Qingyun asked. He really hoped that Hizai could join him. When Li Qingyun began to embark on the road of super god technology, he had actually been alone since he set his own research direction. Although in the Marvel Universe, he personally created a new super god academy, recruiting a large number of geniuses and top scientists to train them so that they could help him in the future. But in fact, those people could not bring him much help, and he still needed to rely on himself more often. But today, he met Hizai. Hizai has accumulated a wealth of knowledge, and her vision and thinking are even more outstanding. Today is only the first time he has communicated with Hizai, but he has already found that she can cooperate well with his research and help him find the root and problem of these studies. Hizai hesitated. She was actually moved at this time, because she found that this was a brand new topic and a brand new knowledge concept. This is just like when she first discovered the characteristics of the dark silver metal, and could eventually achieve the rise of female angels through the application of this dark silver. This is a discovery that can open a new era. Are there any concerns? Li Qingyun saw Hizai's hesitation and immediately asked. Kesha has fallen, and now this mellow heaven needs my protection. I can't abandon my responsibility, Hizai said, but she promised the holy Kesha to train Angel Yan well and make her a new qualified angel king. Moreover, Mellow Heaven is now in a stage of internal and external troubles. The demon army was watching from the outside, and the older generation of angels in the angel army did not trust Angel Yan. The reason why the entire Mellow Heaven was still calm was because she was here to keep it under control. If Hizai suddenly said that he wanted to leave Mellow Heaven at this time, the entire Mellow Heaven would probably collapse. This is easy. We can train a new, qualified angel king, and then eliminate all the possible threats. Isn't that enough? Li Qingyun was not afraid that Hizai would have any concerns, but she was afraid that Hizai would not be tempted. As long as Hizai was willing to participate in the development of this dimensional technology with her, then everything else would be a piece of cake. Besides, the death god Karl was originally his target. The space principal had a lot of favors for him. He made a special trip for him to come here to solve the void crisis, and the root of the void crisis was the death god Karl. Therefore, Li Qingyun had to settle with the death god Karl no matter what. This is not an easy thing. Hizai turned around, and she suddenly remembered a very critical issue. Her original mission was to train Angel Yan to become a qualified angel king, and let Angel Yan be responsible for guarding Xianchen, then she could withdraw. But now she knows the true identity of Li Qingyun. She knows that this is a person from another world, which means that Li Qingyun will definitely go back soon. Hizai knows about the things between Angel Yan and Li Qingyun. If Angel Yan is really with Li Qingyun in the end, I am afraid that when Li Qingyun leaves, Angel Yan will also leave, then the Angel King of Mellow Heaven will only fall on Ennead. But it takes at least 1,000 years for Ennead to become an Angel King, from an ordinary person. How can there be no powerful person to escort him during this 1,000 years? What's wrong with you? Li Qingyun can feel the changes in Hizai's emotions at this moment. Even if his chaos magic ability is not activated actively, some of the intense emotional changes around him will be felt by him. Obviously, Hizai was still very happy just now, but suddenly became depressed at this time. Nothing, Hizai shook his head. I should go back. With my current identity, I can't leave Mellow Heaven for too long. Hizai adjusted her state and then turned around again. Li Qingyun clearly saw that Hizai's state was very different from before, but he couldn't remember what was going on. Seeing Hizai like this, he had no choice but to open the door of space, and then return to Mellow Heaven with Hizai. I hope you can seriously consider my proposal, Li Qingyun urged. He really felt that if Hizai could help him, it would be of great help to him. Well, I will, Hizai nodded, then turned around and walked towards the house where she lived. Li Qingyun knew that she didn't want to continue chatting with him, so he could only slow down and let his eye think about it more, and then leave first and go back to his own residence. However, not long after he left, his eye sighed. I have lived for 30,000 years. Even the death of Sumerli did not bring much emotional fluctuations. Why am I so uneasy today just because of a thought? Gods like Izai who have lived for tens of thousands of years have a different attitude towards things than ordinary super soldiers. Even if it is her own situation, she can figure it out at the first time. However, this understanding does not mean that it can be completely controlled. The previous excitement and the loss after thinking about the relationship between Angel Yan and Li Qingyun all appeared in an instant, and she had no time to control it rationally. This is emotion, which is the emotion that any life of the main biological civilization will have. This is the case with her, the Xianji King Hizai, and even the Holy Keisha who has the strongest sense of divine power cannot get rid of it. If it were not for being troubled by emotions, with the strength of Holy Keisha, how could she stop Morgana in time on Earth? Kesha, you have already fallen, why did you leave me such a big problem? Hizai looked up at the sky, looking at the blue sky and white clouds, but the figure of Holy Keisha emerged in her mind. However, this figure only existed for a moment, and then changed into the scene in the small world. The two stood next to the cosmic membrane, watching the cosmic membrane thinking and studying seriously. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284. Why so straightforward? Li Qingyun, who returned to his residence, had not landed in the yard when he saw the angels Yan and Qilin waiting there. The moment he saw the angel Yan, he suddenly understood why Hizai's mood had suddenly changed. Hizai's mission is to protect the mellow heavenly court and wait for a new qualified angel king to appear, but the current angel king is Yan. Li Qingyun sighed in his heart. Li Qingyun knew that Angel Yan liked him, and Angel Yan had even made it clear that she wanted to be his partner in the near future. In other words, if Li Qingyun said that he would leave this super god universe and return to the Marvel universe in the near future, then Angel Yan would most likely choose to leave with him. If Angel Yan left like this, wouldn't there be no angel king in Mellow Heavenly Court? Although there is an angel crown prince in Fraser's place, the problem is that according to the original plan of Mellow Heavenly Court, this angel crown prince will be able to truly inherit the position of angel king after at least 1,000 years. That is to say, within this 1,000 years, there must be someone who can take charge of the overall situation to stabilize the situation in Mellow Heaven. If Angel Yan is not here, the only one who can do all this is Xianji Wang Hexi. Under such circumstances, Hexi is fully aware of Li Qingyun's true identity. How could she easily agree to her invitation and come to her side to be her best partner? If you just want to train Angel Yan, it will be done in a few years. After all, she was originally a sacred left-wing guard, and her own strength is not weak, but the problem is that Yan must be left in Mellow Heaven. In the Super God universe, Li Qingyun was entangled. At this moment, he stayed in the air, just quietly watching Angel Yan and Qilin who were waiting below. Li Qingyun is not a person who will completely fall at the feet of a woman, so when he was in the Marvel universe, he had relationships with many people, and even had two fixed lovers. But when facing them, Li Qingyun will not be too entangled. He will directly tell them his thoughts and let them choose for themselves. But it was not like this when he was with Angel Yan and Qilin. This was a real feeling. He cared about the feelings of these two people and was afraid of hurting them. Otherwise, why didn't he agree directly when Qilin confessed to him? Why didn't he do this now that he knew that these two people liked him and he could have them as long as he agreed? Because he really considered the feelings of these two people. He hoped that after they knew the truth in the future, they would decide for themselves whether to be with him. It's almost time to tell them the truth. Li Qingyun originally planned to tell Qilin and Angel Yan these secrets before he left the Super God universe. But now because of Hizai, he had to advance this plan. Qilin was fine, just let her know his true identity, and the fact that he also had Hela and Wanda in the Super God universe. But Angel Yan was different. Angel Yan needed to make a choice, and Li Qingyun also needed to make a choice. However, Li Qingyun had an idea in his heart that was more important than feelings, that is, a perfect helper. In other words, Li Qingyun can give up a woman, but he absolutely cannot give up Hizai, because this person has the ability to help him break through to a higher realm, and will be of countless help to him in the countless years to come. Between love and higher achievements, Li Qingyun actually subconsciously leans towards higher achievements. Yan, Qilin, you two follow me, Li Qingyun said in a serious tone. What's wrong? Qilin and Angel Yan both looked at Li Qingyun at the same time. He had just returned, but he suddenly showed such a serious state. It was obvious that something very important had happened. Don't ask first, just follow me. While Li Qingyun was speaking, he landed beside Qilin and Angel Yan, and opened the space door again. Regarding the secret of his identity, he had to find an absolutely safe place to tell them. In the small world of the Soul Gem, Li Qingyun let Angel Yan and Qilin know his true identity and even the situation when he talked with his eye. This truth also made Angel Yan and Qilin unable to recover for a long time. Seeing them like this, Li Qingyun could only turn around and leave, and began to take care of the flowers and plants in the yard outside. This is a life planet, one of the very few in the small universe. However, there are only animals and plants on this life planet, and there will be no creatures with spiritual intelligence, because this small universe is the world owned by the Soul Gem, and all the species in it can be said that they have no real soul. The reason why Qilin and Angel Yan were chosen to be brought to this small planet is because Qilin's body cannot adapt to the universe. Time passed little by little, until dusk, Angel Yan and Qilin came out of the house. At this time, Li Qingyun had already set up a barbecue grill in the yard, and a whole roasted lamb was almost cooked. Hearing the sound of the two of them coming out, Li Qingyun turned around and looked over. However, when he saw this, he was dumbfounded. The two of them were wearing nothing, and when they saw him turn around, they rushed over, one on the left and one on the right, and directly threw Li Qingyun to the grass. No matter what Li Qingyun said, they didn't even give Li Qingyun a chance to refuse. They just took Li Qingyun and did it on the spot. For 3 whole days, Li Qingyun, Angel Yan, and Qilin did not leave this small universe. In the outside world, Reina and Sultan were both at a loss, because they didn't know what happened. But his eye knew that Li Qingyun had the secret of the small world, and she also thought that Li Qingyun might have brought Angel Yan and Qilin into the small world, or he might be planning to show his cards with them. No matter what was happening inside, at least it was certain that Li Qingyun was making a choice because of his own affairs. What will you choose? His eye was actually very curious at this time, or she was looking forward to it, looking forward to Li Qingyun's final decision. Should he choose himself as his best partner to explore the more mysterious truth of the universe together, or choose Angel Yan, the woman who admires him? Chapter 285 Solution to the Problem. On the morning of the 4th day, Li Qingyun, Angel Yan and Qilin finally returned to the real world. It seemed that everything was normal. But careful people could still see the subtle changes between the three of them. Qilin, what happened to you these days? After Qilin returned to her room, Lena quickly came to her. Nothing, Qilin shook her head. She had promised Li Qingyun that she would not tell anyone about his true identity and the things that happened in their small world for the time being. Li Qingyun's true identity needs to be kept secret, because if everyone knows it, it may cause some unnecessary trouble. Moreover, in order to ensure that these secrets will not be forcibly read by others, Li Qingyun also added a protection program for Qilin, which is a program that can prevent her dark plane information data from being read by others. Nothing? I see that you don't look like nothing happened. Although Lena is usually careless, she is also a woman after all, and she can feel the changes in Qilin's thoughts. Don't ask me, I'll tell you later anyway, Qilin said, then she picked up her clothes and ran to the bathroom. Tell me later? That means there's something wrong. A strange expression appeared on Reina's face, because she suddenly realized the real reason why Qilin was like this. Maybe, in these 3 days in the small world, the relationship between Qilin and Li Qingyun has been further improved. At the same time, in the Palace of Mellow Heaven, there was also a conversation between Xianji King Hexi and Angel Yan. However, unlike the inability to communicate between Reina and Qilin, there was no need to dodge the conversation between the two. Li Qingyun told you all his secrets. Hexi looked at Angel Yan. There was originally a generation difference between the two, but the conversation at this moment was more like two ordinary people who were also experiencing emotional affairs. Yes, Angel Yan nodded and answered. What do you think? Hexi needed to know what Angel Yan chose. If she chooses to leave with Li Qingyun, then Hizai must stay and make sure that Insight eventually grows up. But if Angel Yan decides to stay in the Mellow Heaven and continue to carry out the mission given to her by Holy Kisha, to protect Enocide and let her grow into the King of Angels, then Hizai may be able to put down this burden. We have decided to let Enocide grow up in the shortest possible time, and then let her take over the position of the King of Angels, Yan said. You? Is this a joint decision between you and Li Qingyun? Hizai looked at Angel Yan. She already understood that the relationship between Angel Yan and Li Qingyun had taken another step forward. Yes, Angel Yan did not hide it at all. Qingyun wants to study the dimensional space technology. Currently, only you can help him, so we all hope that you can help him, but you and I are the same. We have the obligation to protect the Mellow Heaven and the justice order created by Queen Kisha, so we must not leave Mellow Heaven without the Angel King. So, there is only one best way, that is to let Enocide grow up as soon as possible, and then let her take our place and become the real Angel King, Angel Yan said, and at the end, in order to dispel Hizai's encouragement, she also pointed out a fact. Enocide was originally the most suitable angel crown prince calculated by the Holy Knowledge Treasury. Queen Kesha has long decided to let her inherit the position of Angel King after 1,000 years. What we are doing now is just to speed up this process. Angel Yan never thought about becoming a real Angel King. Even if Li Qingyun did not appear, Angel Yan originally only planned to assist Enocide to become the Angel King. I'm afraid that if we force things to grow, it will backfire. Hizai naturally knew that letting Enid become the King of Angels was the best outcome, but the problem was that the 1,000 years of precipitation was originally to ensure that Enid could always keep his original intention during his growth. If this stage of precipitation was skipped directly, if the final Enid changed his mind after becoming the King of Angels, it would be a devastating blow to the Mellow Heaven and the Justice Order. Qingyun has the power to cross dimensions, and this power can cross the two realms at any time according to his own wishes, although there may be a certain time interval in between. This interval will not be too long. At most, it can go back and forth once every 10 or 20 years. At that time, we can come back and observe every once in a while to ensure that Enid will not go astray during this period. Angel Yan also asked Li Qingyun this question at the time, and after thinking about it, Li Qingyun gave this answer. Indeed, when Hizai first raised that question, Li Qingyun was also negligent. He did not remember for a moment that he had the power to cross dimensions. This power, to a certain extent, can allow him to travel between two worlds at will. The space principle pulled Li Qingyun to the Marvel Universe at that time. He only spent about 10 years there, and then crossed the dimension to come to the Super God Universe. That is to say, the interval required for him to cross between dimensions is not too long, at least for now, it is only more than 10 years at most. That is to say, Li Qingyun cannot test at such a critical time, otherwise he can directly perform a dimensional shuttle now to see if this time limit really exists. After all, now is the time when the God of Death Karl begins to rise. If he travels back to the Marvel Universe at this time and cannot come back within 10 years, I am afraid that the entire Super God Universe will encounter a catastrophe. Can you go back and forth once every 10 or 20 years? Hizai finally saw hope. If all this is true, then she can choose to study the true mystery of this universe with Li Qingyun. Qingyun said that he is at least 90% sure, Angel Yan said confidently. If that's true, everything can be done, Hizai said. In addition, some research doesn't have to wait until you leave here to do it. For example, the research on strengthening the divine body with a cosmic membrane, you can actually start now. What Angel Yan said at this moment was what she thought in her heart. Although she had already taken Li Qingyun down, she knew how much Li Qingyun valued Hizai and those researches. So she was willing to take the risk that Hizai would also be deeply involved in it, to help Li Qingyun realize his wish. Chapter 286 Development of Dimensional Technology. The most critical problem has been solved. Angel Yan led Angel Zhu and Angel Moi, the two newly selected Sacred Winged Guards, to personally go to Fraser. Yan's mission is to let Inesad know the fact that angels exist, and also to guide her to become an angel as soon as possible. In addition, the demon army has not made any movement during this period, and Yan also needs to be on guard. The people of the demon army may attack Inesad, so she needs to bring the sacred wings. At the same time, in order to help the Earth develop better and allow the Earth to develop normally without Li Qingyun, Hizai also selected a few angels to go to the Earth. These angels are Angel Zixin, Angel Kayla, and another old generation angel with a high status in the Mellow Heaven. They all have certain skills and are at the top level in their respective fields. Therefore, if they go to the Earth, they can give the Earth good guidance and most technical guidance. If there's really something difficult to solve, just contact Li Qingyun. After making these arrangements, Li Qingyun can concentrate on studying the technical application of dimensional space. The Heavenly King Hezai, naturally, participated in it together with Li Qingyun. The two stayed in the mellow heavenly court, making an overall plan for the entire small world, and at the same time used the Heavenly Computer Group and the Red Star Computer Group, two celestial computer systems, to conduct a comprehensive analysis of the cosmic membrane. Only after accurate analysis can it be applied. At the same time, in the Death Song Academy located in the Dark Nebula, the Death God Karl was also conducting his research. The development of the black hole engine is nearing completion, but the key problem now is that it has not been tested. Therefore, the Death God Karl chose the Heavenly Palace King Huiyi. This former main god of the Angel Nebula is not weak in strength, and his dark matter plane energy amplitude is comparable to that of the main god Morgana. Although 30,000 years of backwardness has made him easily beaten by Morgana and Hezai now. But now that the Death God Karl has given him the black hole engine, his divine body and super gene engine will be greatly improved, completely surpassing the Demon King and the Heavenly King on the technical level. Is this the black hole engine and the fourth generation divine body? Huiyi felt the changes in his divine body at this moment. He was sure that his current strength was at least 2 or 3 times higher than before. Yes, Death God Karl nodded and said. Next, do what you want. Death God Karl did not intend to continue to talk nonsense with Huiyi. He just wanted to see whether the black hole engine he provided could compete with the god of chaos. Thank you very much. After Huiyi finished speaking, he turned around and left. He left the Death Song Academy and took Ruining and several other scumbags to recruit his former subordinates. In the Death Song Academy, Snow came to the side of Death God Karl, but he was very puzzled. It's okay to give Huiyi the black hole engine, but why give him the fourth generation divine body? Originally, in the plan of Death God Karl, he just let Huiyi test the function of the black hole engine for him, but now Karl spent resources to upgrade him to the fourth generation divine body. This is the most pinnacle divine body in the universe. Currently, only the Demon King Morgana is known to possess it. The only person who possesses it is Hexi, the king of the sky base, who has a divine body. The power of the black hole engine is enough to deal with other people, but it is far from enough to deal with Li Qingyun. The Death God Karl helped Huiyi, not just to let him break the balance of the universe. In fact, in the eyes of the Death God Karl, even the upgraded Huiyi would hardly be Li Qingyun's opponent. Now, the Death God Karl is just trying to improve Huiyi's strength as much as possible so that he can be on par with Li Qingyun. Li Qingyun has the fourth generation divine body, and he also upgraded Huiyi's fourth generation divine body. Li Qingyun has an unknown powerful void engine, so he upgraded Huiyi's black hole engine. Li Qingyun has a powerful void level weapon, so he upgraded Huiyi's weapon to void level weapon. Even now, Li Qingyun is surrounded by a large number of powerful super warriors, and the god of death Karl has also found a powerful helper for Huiyi. They are a group of top warriors selected from the beast civilization of the Dark Nebula, and they are a brand new combat force formed after being strengthened. Snow, you go and prepare a new Void Legion. Now Li Qingyun has successfully joined forces with Mellow Heaven. Although Huiyi has all kinds of technical support provided by me, I am afraid that he will not be able to win in the end, so, we must have 2 preparations. At least when the opponent's army is approaching, we can also find a way to deal with it. Based on the actual data, the god of death Karl judged that Huiyi had little chance of winning, but he could at least give it a try, that's all. Yes, my god, Snow agreed, then turned around and went to prepare and build a new Void Legion. Back to Mellow Heaven, Li Qingyun and Hezai were sitting in the garden at this time, looking at the scenery in the garden while leisurely drinking afternoon tea. In theory, dimensional technology is feasible, but at present, it seems that there is no energy that can separate the cosmic membrane and recondense it into the dark matter plane space. Hezai was still analyzing. At this leisurely moment, she couldn't help but summarize some of the most important problems in this research. I don't know if I can do it with my time platform ability. The new Void Controller platform upgraded by Li Qingyun integrates all of Li Qingyun's abilities to rewrite the rules. The fusion of the 4 abilities of Void, Anti-Void, Ether Particles, and Chaos Magic can theoretically directly subvert all known and even unknown rules in the universe. Therefore, the special existence of the cosmic membrane may also be achieved by the time platform. I have studied your time. Its power is indeed terrifying. It was born from the void and the anti-void, but it has completely surpassed the two concepts of the void and the anti-void. It is easy to control the universe, but there is still a certain gap between controlling and cutting the universe, especially the extremely special existence of the cosmic membrane. I am afraid it has surpassed the known universe itself. In his eyes view, there is a huge difference between the known universe and the world outside the known universe. Li Qingyun's time platform can be said to have complete control over the known universe, but the power of the unknown universe is ultimately illusory. Chapter 287 Irrational Thinking Breakthrough. The known universe and the unknown universe. This is indeed not the same thing. Li Qingyun was also lost in thought at this time. However, before getting an accurate answer, testing it yourself is also a feasible way. Li Qingyun said, he actually came here in this way. When he was in the Marvel universe, Li Qingyun had the big clock, but at that time, he had no one else to assist him except the big clock, and he didn't even understand the essence of super god technology at all. The big clock asked him to make a super gene potion, so he asked Banner to do it. After it was done, he didn't test it, but used it directly. After that, all kinds of abilities were tested by himself. For example, for the fusion of chaos magic, he forced the test plan based on a guess, and then started to implement it. During this period, the role played by the big clock was huge, but the courage to test was also a big reason for being able to gain such strength in just a few years. Irrational attempt. I thought of such a situation. This is a phenomenon that often occurs in the primitive stage of technological development. After having a certain guess, repeated tests are performed to verify the final result. This method is extremely backward in a sense, but in reality, it does bring about the basic development of science and technology. The birth of the first generation of super soldiers was actually achieved because of this irrational attempt. Based on his own guess, the principle of space directly broke the rational algorithm of the big clock and made a bold attempt, which eventually led to the emergence of the first god. The big clock once told me that on the road of technological development, the creativity that can be generated by irrationality is stronger than rationality. Therefore, the super god technology has been developed for 100,000 years, but it has never thought of using artificial intelligence to replace life itself, but has been upgrading and improving life, that is, super genes. Li Qingyun said that the secret of his identity had been told to his eye, so there was no need to hide the conversation between him and his eye now. The big clock is the most critical auxiliary tool that allows Li Qingyun to grow to where he is today, and Li Qingyun has never forgotten this. From a creative point of view, life forms do have such an advantage, but in actual scientific research, artificial intelligence still plays a huge role. Through the continuous updating and iteration of its own data, the upgrade speed of artificial intelligence is much faster than that of ordinary life forms. I said, she helped Holy Kesha develop the Holy Knowledge Treasury, and she also developed the space-based computing group herself. She naturally knows the situation of celestial computers and artificial intelligence very well. Iteration is indeed the advantage of artificial intelligence, but this kind of iteration cannot be applied to the level leap of the divine body, right? Li Qingyun also gave his own introduction. The first and second generations of super soldiers were created in one go. It can be said that they were indeed the results calculated by the celestial computer. The emergence of the third generation of divine bodies was due to the dark matter plane space technology that appeared by chance. This technology allows super soldiers to implant equipment directly into the dark matter plane of the super soldiers, and then achieve synchronization of energy and function through the mutual induction between the dark matter plane and the dark matter computer in the super soldiers' bodies, so that it was finally realized. The fourth generation of divine bodies and sacred bodies were the ideas proposed by Kesha, Liangbing and I when we first came into contact with the super seminary. The dark matter computer is accurate to the atom, and the immortality of the body is ultimately achieved through means such as the mutual positioning of atoms. After this idea was proposed, it took the treasure house of divine knowledge tens of thousands of years to finally create the sacred body. Morgana's fourth generation divine body was also simulated in the big clock for tens of thousands of years before it was finally realized. I said that in terms of celestial computers and technological creation, the owners have always proposed theories and feasibility plans, and then directly handed them over to celestial level computers for simulation and calculation to achieve the final realization. Therefore, I would never think that a simple super soldier or god can be on par with a celestial computer. In fact, A so-called super soldier cannot become a truly powerful god if he does not know how to use a celestial computer and does not know how to take advantage of the powerful computing and analytical capabilities of a celestial computer. I understand everything you said, but the final result is no different, Li Qingyun said. Even if the celestial computer has strong computing and analytical capabilities, and no matter how important it is in the overall upgrade of the divine body and technological development, its fundamental need is still to be fundamentally improved under the irrational creation of life. In other words, artificial intelligence can make a certain technology constantly updated and developed to an extremely perfect level, but it can never break through the shackles and create new and stronger technologies. Li Qingyun came to this conclusion after comparing a lot of data at the big clock. Artificial intelligence makes a technology tend to be perfect in a short period of time. This can be referred to the Sentinel technology in the mutant world in the Marvel Universe. The original Sentinel technology was just a simple robot that could detect mutant genes and then warn and attack mutants. But after integrating mutant genes, it began to update and iterate rapidly, from a simple robot to an all-purpose robot that can use all mutant abilities at the same time. In addition, in battle, when facing different mutant abilities, it can quickly switch to different mutant abilities to restrain them. It can be said that the Sentinel robot has been close to perfection in dealing with mutants and has become more powerful than almost all mutants. But the limitation of artificial intelligence is that these Sentinels that he updated and iterated, no matter how they were upgraded and changed, could not surpass the category of mutants. In other words, he could not create new mutant abilities, but simply copied them. In contrast, Ultron, who has irrational wisdom, is better in this regard. Because of the Mind Stone, Ultron's artificial intelligence evolved into rational thinking like humans, so he quickly thought of a way to evolve himself, that is, to create a powerful mechanical life form like vision that is almost the same as normal humans. Although Ultron's appearance was only short-lived, if it had not been destroyed by the Avengers in a short period of time, or if it had been more sophisticated in its irrational thinking, it would have certainly been able to create more technologies that would have surpassed its initial technological limitations. Chapter 288, Cooperation between the King of Xianji and the God of Chaos. I understand what you mean. If there is no other feasible method at present, maybe we can give it a try. Although Li Zai prefers to simulate and calculate with astronomical computers with accurate data before starting to implement, Li Zai can also understand and accept what Li Qingyun said. After all, in the case of no clue for the time being, making some speculative attempts is also a feasible method. Although, this kind of speculative attempt may also cause some unpredictable damage. There are risks, but we can't be timid because of this, right? Li Qingyun knew what Li Zai was worried about. Stripping a part of the energy from the cosmic membrane and applying it to the divine body is an operation that comes with a huge risk. In the process of stripping, if the operation is improper or there is any deviation, the cosmic membrane of the small universe will be destroyed, and the influence of this destruction is still inestimable. After all, no one knows what the characteristics of the cosmic membrane are. If it is like a balloon, then the slightest damage may cause the entire cosmic membrane to break. Without the protection of the cosmic membrane, the small universe will quickly merge into the existing universe, and then the small universe in this special soul gem owned by Li Qingyun will also disappear. This is an independent small universe, and its preciousness and importance to Li Qingyun can be imagined. If such a precious small universe is destroyed just because of a test, it is really not worth it. We all know that the cosmic membrane is a special medium. It does not contain particularly strong energy, but it has a strange power that can isolate two universes. In my opinion, it should be an expansive and soft substance, so even if we use forced peeling methods, as long as we can remove it, it will not directly destroy its overall framework, Li Qingyun said. His conjecture was associated with a display of cosmic membranes in some other dimensions. In Marvel and Super God, there is no such operation of directly crossing the universe, but in some other dimensional universes, there have been similar operations. Ultraman Zero flew directly out of the universe, and the 12 universes in the Dragon Ball world are even more simple and clear. Although Li Qingyun has never been to these dimensional worlds, the so-called dimensional worlds originally existed and were embodied in the imagination. Therefore, since there are Marvel and Super God, the existence of other worlds is also possible. In those worlds, since those pictures can be seen, it can be inferred that these results are feasible. The most important thing is that this is also the judgment made by Li Qingyun after studying the small universe for a long time. Only when there is a judgment can there be action, Even if this action will take risks, it will be done. In this case, let's go. His eye stood up, and Li Qingyun also put away some things around him at this time. They have already decided, so there is no need to hesitate and just go directly. The two entered the small world and came directly to the edge of the small universe. At this moment, in front of the two of them is the cosmic membrane, which is the mysterious medium that the two of them have been studying for more than half a month. Next, I will exert all my strength. You will cooperate with me to accurately control these powers and use them to gently scrape off a layer from this cosmic membrane. Li Qingyun said. If he wanted to destroy the cosmic membrane, he must use all his strength, because to destroy the cosmic membrane, it means that he must have the power to break the universe. Although Li Qingyun's current strength is very strong, it is really impossible to surpass the single universe level and directly blow up a universe. Therefore, he needs to focus all his energy on releasing his own power, and the subsequent operations can only be handed over to his eye. Don't worry, just release all your power, I will control them and complete the subsequent work, his eye replied. It is also a very difficult thing to control the power provided by Li Qingyun and accurately remove this tiny part from the cosmic membrane. Then, time starts, all the computing power of the Red Star series is turned on, and it will fully support my subsequent work. Li Qingyun began to burst out with extremely powerful power. In addition to the power provided by its own time platform, this power also relied on the computing support of the Red Star series. At the same time, the 5 Red Star series computers on the Earth were all running at high speed, and even the energy of the multiple stars it was connected to began to be quickly mobilized. After the Red Star series went online, Li Qingyun had actually arranged for the Red Star series to begin absorbing more power from stars. Setting up a channel for absorbing star energy was originally a step that celestial-level computers had to go through. After all, simply absorbing 1 or 2 stars, that energy is difficult to maintain the computing needs of the nebula-level material computer, that is, the celestial computer. Attention all angels in Xiansheng, I will mobilize the computing power of the entire space-based computing group to carry out an important research work. The performance of all defense systems will be weakened to varying degrees. You must ensure that there will be no accidents during this period. His eye also sent a message to the many guardian angels of Mellow Heaven, asking them to prepare in advance. After that, she also began to mobilize her strongest energy. The space-based computing group is ready, the Angel Silver Star data network is synchronized, and the energy replenishment has entered a saturated state. After completing the preparations, Li Qingyun and his eye both looked at each other. After confirming that the other party was ready like himself, Li Qingyun began to count. 3, 2, 1, after counting 3 times, the two entered the state at the same time. On Li Qingyun's body, the ability of the time platform was fully exerted. It contained many powerful energies such as the void, anti-void, ether particles, chaos magic, the Airser, and the celestial group. It was the strongest power that Li Qingyun could burst out. His eye used her own power to start pulling the energy released by Li Qingyun and slowly approached the direction of the cosmic membrane. Because the power released by Li Qingyun was too strong, his eye had to use almost all of her strength, even if she was just simply controlling it. Moreover, the entire operation process must be extremely careful. Even though this irrational test was proposed by Li Qingyun, his eye would not be able to accept failure if mistakes occurred in his operation. Chapter 289 The cosmic membrane was successfully peeled off. With the joint efforts of the 2 top gods in the Super God universe, Xianji King and Chaos God, and the powerful energy output that was enough to shock everyone in the universe, this test officially began. With a continuous infusion of energy and his eye's precise control, the nearly transparent cosmic membrane with an orange glow began to gradually fluctuate. This fluctuation was very slight, just like a finger gently touching the calm lake surface, with only a very slight ripple, but this was a scene that made his eye and Li Qingyun extremely excited. Because this means that the cosmic membrane can indeed be peeled off in this way. Now there is only one last question left to worry about, that is, whether this peeling method will affect the microcosm itself afterwards. Soon, Li Qingyun and his eye stopped. This is the first attempt, and it cannot be carried out for too long, because the specific impact and other situations are not known, so it is necessary to restrain as much as possible. Just simply collecting some, the two of them took back all the energy at the same time. After the two stopped, a small ball of orange energy medium was floating in front of them. A cosmic membrane that is completely unaffected by space. Success, Li Qingyun sighed. It's still unknown whether this small universe itself will be affected. Hizai turned his eyes around and looked at the cosmic membrane that continued to extend and cover the entire small universe. Let me take a look. Li Qingyun immediately spread all his consciousness. He began to feel the energy changes of the entire small universe in all directions. At the same time, he also took out the soul gem and carefully observed the situation of the soul gem. In the end, with his comprehensive observation and understanding, he determined the accurate result. The small universe has not been directly affected, but I still need to spend some time to make more precise calculations, Li Qingyun said. This small universe is huge, and his simple observation can only see the overall situation. The overall observation is fine, which means that there will be no actual situation, but it still needs further observation to ensure that all the data are completely consistent with the previous ones. This time, only a small part of the cosmic membrane was peeled off, but its peeling off cannot have no effect on the small universe. The key is to see the direction and magnitude of this effect. Energy conservation is the basic law of the universe, and it should be the same even in the small universe. As for the peak cosmic energy conservation of the void controller, this is actually within a limit. That is, you can create new energy and new matter out of thin air, which can achieve a subversive effect, and the subversion is only in this part of the field. But now, what they are studying is the cosmic membrane. They have not yet analyzed the complete composition and results of the cosmic membrane itself, so it is impossible to create the same substance. Moreover, the energy contained in the cosmic membrane is too special, and the energy it possesses is too powerful. It is by no means something that can be copied casually. Just like those high-intensity energy substances in the universe, such as void particles, black hole matter, dark silver and dark iron elements, etc., some of them have material components that have been analyzed. But it is still impossible to copy and create substances that are exactly the same as them. Especially the void particles and black hole matter. The former was produced in the Big Bang and has existed in the universe for infinite years. It is something that can only be encountered by chance. The latter needs to be created through the process of stars bombarding black holes. Although black hole matter is similar to void matter in nature, it is equally difficult to obtain and has the same huge energy, so it is even more impossible to create out of thin air. Therefore, the cosmic membrane has been stripped of a part, which will definitely have an impact on the entire microcosm. It is just that because the amount of stripping is relatively small, the impact may be very subtle and cannot be seen for the time being. But for safety reasons, all of this must be found out in advance. Only by finding out where the specific impact is and how much it is, can they perform more precise operations based on these data in the next step. I understand what you mean. I will specifically check the situation of the entire microcosm and analyze all the data until I find the accurate answer, Li Qingyun replied. I'm afraid it will take another month or two to investigate this. I looked at the small universe. Although its scale was not as vast as the real universe, it was also the scale of a galaxy. It was not so easy to calculate the slightest changes in it. It would be great if there was a big clock. With the computing power of the big clock, it would definitely provide you with greater computing support in this matter. The computing system of the Red Star series is still far behind the big clock, Hizai sighed. Astronomical computers like the big clock and the treasure house of sacred knowledge cannot be made casually. Even the Red Star series can only be copied and created through the time platform after having a precise design. And the first main computer, Li Qingyun naturally knew that the big clock played a huge role in this regard, but the problem was that it was not in his hands now. The big clock was still in the hands of the god of death Karl. We can't directly set up a celestial computer in this small universe, because that will directly change the parameters of the entire small universe, making the entire analysis and solution more difficult. Otherwise, we can also build a celestial computer series here. Li Qingyun turned his head and looked at the center of this small world, where the new home built by Li Qingyun, Angel Yan, and Qilin was hidden. There was sufficient stellar energy nearby, which was also very suitable for making celestial computers. Unfortunately, the research on the cosmic membrane, small universe, and space dimension technology has not been completed yet, and he cannot transform the environment in this small universe on a large scale. It's just 1 or 2 months. Anyway, no matter how fast the growth of an asset is, it will take 20 to 30 years. Waiting for such a period of time is not long. Hizai actually knew about the things between Angel Yan, Qilin and Li Qingyun a long time ago. She even went to the new home to see it. However, now she is mainly studying the technology of dimensional space with Li Qingyun. They are just partners, and it is not appropriate to ask about Li Qingyun's private affairs. Chapter 290 The Scum Huiyi Attacks. King of the Sky, this is the 19th defense line. Our defense system has been attacked, and the outermost star energy field has been destroyed. Suddenly, an urgent communication came in. It was a message from the 19th defense line on the outermost side of the mellow heavenly court, and was sent by the angels in charge of defense in a hurry. All angels, prioritize your own safety, and everyone retreat to the next defense line. I directly sent back the order to the angels. Sky-based computing group, immediately restore the energy supply of all defense systems. I immediately began to make the entire defense system enter the best state. Only with the computing support of the Sky-based computing group, the various defense levels of mellow heavenly court can be maintained at the strongest stage. I have to return to Xiancheng as soon as possible to preside over the overall situation. I looked up at Li Qingyun. At this time, as the king of the sky of mellow heavenly court, she must stay in Xiancheng. Understood. Li Qingyun directly waved his hands to open the space gate, and then the two of them entered the space gate without any hesitation and left. However, they did not notice that the moment they left, the cosmic membrane that was originally beside them suddenly moved a tiny distance. I, who returned to the real world, immediately used the wormhole to transfer to the palace of mellow heaven, and sat on the throne without any scruples. What's the situation? When I's words came out, the dozen or so high-level guarding angels in the hall all turned their heads and looked in the direction of the throne. The outermost defense line has been destroyed, and the subsequent 19th defense line was also attacked, but because the guards discovered it in time, and the space-based computing group responded in time, the maintenance of the 19th defense line was also strengthened a lot. However, the 19th defense line has been damaged to a certain extent, and I'm afraid it won't last long. The high-level guarding angel who reported the situation immediately reported the situation on the front line to his eye. I have ordered the soldiers guarding there to retreat directly. Just give up the 19th line of defense. When his eye first learned the news, it was when the 19th line of defense was attacked, so his eye knew at that time that the 19th line of defense might not be able to be defended. However, what his eye cares about most is the lives of the angel sisters. It is just a line of defense. If it is breached, it is breached. It is not a big deal. Do you have any information about the invaders? What his eye is most concerned about now is the identity of those invaders. She is very curious about who had attacked the mellow heavenly palace at this time. According to the intelligence sent back from the front line, the invaders are the heavenly palace King Huiyi and the angel ruining. A high-level guard angel immediately gave an answer. Huiyi, his eye frowned. She hadn't heard this name for a long time. She didn't expect that when she heard it again, it was the other party who led the team to attack. It should be Huiyi who was upgraded by the god of death Karl. Li Qingyun also came over. He didn't have to come here because this was where the angels discussed important matters and the palace of the king of angels. But at this moment, when it comes to invading the mellow heaven, he knows much more information than these angels. So he naturally has to come to help. As for ruining, you should know her situation better than me. Li Qingyun would not call ruining an angel. This former storm god of war, as the left wing guard of the holy Keisha, his status and position can be imagined. But ruining fell into depravity and ran to Huiyi's side to be a dog for Huiyi. Li Qingyun couldn't accept putting ruining in the same position as the other angels. She used to be the holy left wing guard of Keisha, and she knows a lot about the secrets of mellow heaven. I'm afraid that this time with her leading, there will be many loopholes in our defense line. His eye frowned. Huiyi's comeback is already very troublesome, and now there is a traitor like ruining leading the way. The situation of mellow heaven is even worse. Defending blindly will naturally have loopholes, Li Qingyun said. You mean, let us take the initiative to attack? His eye looked at Li Qingyun. Huiyi's original strength is very strong, and now with the technical support provided by the god of death Karl, I'm afraid his ability will be much stronger than before. If we act rashly like this, I'm afraid, his eye hesitated. She had fought with Huiyi before. Back then, she and the three angel kings Keisha and Lianbing attacked Huiyi at the same time and defeated Huiyi. Although her current strength is no longer comparable to her past self, she can be 100% sure that if she faces the former Huiyi again, any of her clones can suppress her, and as long as she uses some real skills, she can kill him directly. But what Izai cares about most now is the ability Hui has gained after upgrading, that is, the ability provided to him by the god of death Karl. Let me do it, Li Qingyun spoke directly. He was standing here at the moment, and he had already decided to help Melo's celestial court. For Li Qingyun, who was busy studying the cosmic membrane and space dimension technology, killing Hui was nothing. If he could do it, he would of course personally eliminate Hui as soon as possible, so that he would have more time to continue the follow-up research with Izai. You want to do it yourself? Izai was a little surprised. We have separated the cosmic membrane. Although the subsequent exploration of the entire microcosm still needs to determine the accurate situation, the cosmic membrane we have obtained can be used for further research. I don't want to delay our research speed because of the arrival of a scumbag. Li Qingyun's words were only heard by Izai. Izai listened to Li Qingyun's words and immediately understood what Li Qingyun meant. For the strength of Li Qingyun, the god of chaos, he really didn't take Hui seriously. Now, even if the god of death Karl came in person, I'm afraid Li Qingyun wouldn't take it too seriously. It was just because Li Qingyun had not been able to kill the phantom death Karl directly, so Li Qingyun had not planned to attack death Karl directly. I understand, Izai nodded. She had understood Li Qingyun's true thoughts, so naturally she would no longer object to the plan proposed by Li Qingyun at this moment. Leng, you go and mobilize the army. Let Skyblade number 6 and Skyblade number 7 prepare and be ready to fight at any time. Izai turned her head and looked at the angel Leng in the hall below. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291. This is the style of the god of chaos. Soon, Skyblade VI and Skyblade VI were ready, led by Angel Leng, with more than 2,000 angel warriors participating. Reina, Sutton, and Killen naturally followed along. After all, Li Qingyun was the main force in the battle against the Shianso group this time. Stop them. Ruining was your teacher before, and you are leading the team yourself. Don't you feel embarrassed? Killen came to Angel Leng's side. For this angel who had been to Earth before and fought together with their Xiangbin company, they still had some friendship with each other. From the moment she decided to lead the Shianso to attack the Mellow Heavenly Court, she was no longer my teacher. Angel Leng's attitude was very firm. In the matter of maintaining justice and order and Mellow Heavenly Court, no one could shake her belief, not to mention that only one of her teachers came now, even if her own mother came. If you can't do it at that time, you can let Reina do it for you, Killen said, and Reina also came forward at this time. She was already fully armed, holding her iconic Tang sword and shield in her hands. As the light of the sun, she was badly defeated in the last battle against the demon army. She was controlled by the demon army and even killed Holy Kesha with a supernova. From this incident, Reina owed the angels. If possible, she would take this opportunity to settle this grudge. No, I can do it myself. Angel Leng directly rejected the kindness of Killen and Reina. She also had her own insistence on this matter. At the same time, two Shinran series celestial spacecraft had successfully arrived at the front line. They came to the army of the Shianso group. The appearance of the two Shinran-class spacecraft made the Shianso group, which was marching towards the direction of Mellow Heaven, stop at this time. The Heavenly Palace King Hui and Ruining were standing in front of the deck of the ship-like spacecraft at this time, watching the situation ahead. They actually took the initiative to attack, Hui asked in shock. Holy Kesha has fallen, and Yan has gone to Fraser again. Now, Izai should be the only one left in the Mellow Heavenly Court, Ruining answered. Izai has always been timid and cautious. Before she is sure of your current strength, she should not rashly take action in person, let alone send out two Skyblade series to fight us head-on. Ruining actually looked down on Izai, and her contempt came from Izai's low profile in the past. When Ruining was the left wing guard of Holy Kesha, Izai basically did not have any outstanding performance in the Angel Legion. Even after the war between the three kings and Hui, Ruining had never seen Izai take action again. A person who keeps a low profile for a long time often gives people the illusion that this person is very weak. This overconfident Ruining had this idea about Izai. Who cares? I'm so strong now. Even if Izai really comes, I don't have to be afraid of her. Hui was equally confident, but compared to Ruining's pure illusion, Hui's confidence came from the black hole engine he now possessed and his fourth-generation divine body. It's better to be humble. On the side, a man wearing a bamboo hat and holding a long sword sighed. Nusa, you have been with the death god Karl for too long, so you have learned to be as timid as a mouse. Hui looked at the man in the bamboo hat and complained disdainfully. This man in the bamboo hat was the adopted son of the death god Karl, Nusa. He was a top warrior secretly cultivated by the death god Karl, possessing a top-level third-generation divine body and a void blade. His combat power was said to be stronger than ruining. When Hui lost Sumali, his right-hand man, the death god Karl sent Nusa over to help Hui deal with the mellow heavenly court. Therefore, Nusa has always been by Hui and Ruining's side, but more often, he just hides and watches silently. According to the information that my god Karl has learned, the god of chaos is in the mellow heavenly court at this time. This time, their angel army is fighting on such a large scale, and I am afraid that the god of chaos will also participate in it, Nusa said, and when he heard him mention Li Qingyun, Hui's face immediately became gloomy. The god of chaos you are talking about is the one who killed Sumali. Hui has always been brooding over this matter. As Hui's most capable assistant, Sumali has been by his side since the old times. Now that Hui has finally waited for the opportunity to make a comeback, Sumali was killed by Li Qingyun in advance, and even his dark data was directly erased, so that Hui and the god of death Karl could not revive him. Yes, Nusa nodded. The most powerful person in the mellow heavenly court today should not be Hizai, but this chaos god. According to the intelligence analysis I know, this chaos god is just strong all the time. Hizai will not take the initiative to attack, but he will. When the devouring beast invaded the solar system, he led 100,000 troops to kill the Earth, but was defeated by the chaos god who led people to attack in the opposite direction, Nusa said. But almost at this time, a voice that seemed to come from their heads echoed in the ears of everyone in the Shianso group. Sure enough, he is worthy of being the top killer carefully cultivated by the death god Karl for thousands of years. Just based on this insight and ability to analyze the current situation, he is much stronger than the two Shianso next to you. The owner of this voice is naturally Li Qingyun. As soon as Shinra number 6 and Shinra number 7 entered the battlefield, Li Qingyun could already read the information of everyone on the battlefield, and these three core figures of the Shianso group, Li Qingyun naturally monitored them at the first time. Therefore, he heard the conversation between Hui, Ruining and Nusa clearly. Thank you for the compliment, God of Chaos. I just got some information from my god Karl. Nusa was still very polite, just like the god of death Karl was polite to Keisha. So, you also know that it is too dangerous to come here in person, so you only dare to come here with a clone. Li Qingyun's voice came again, and this time, Hui and Ruining, who heard this, immediately looked at Nusa with dark faces. It seems that we are here to fight hard, but you just sent a clone to watch the battle. Hui's eyes were filled with strong murderous intent. At this time, Nusa could only smile awkwardly. Chapter 292 Preparation for the Heavenly Blade Judgment. Okay, we've talked a lot of nonsense. What kind of death are you going to choose next? Li Qingyun didn't want to talk any more nonsense with Hui and the others. Li Qingyun, do you think that you can really stop us by standing up for those short skirts? Hui ignored Nusa and stared at Li Qingyun. The reason why Hui chose to come to the Angel Nebula as soon as he came back and led a large group of people to attack the Mellow Heavenly Palace was because there was something most important to him here. As the former Shiangong king of the Shiangong Order, the symbol of Hui's throne was his celestial spaceship, the Shiangong. In that era, before the technology of celestial spaceships in the entire universe was fully mature, the Shiangong could be said to be the first real celestial spaceship in the universe, and in the database of the Shiangong, there was even information about millions of male angels. It can be said that as long as Hui can recapture the Shiangong, it is equivalent to recalling the former million-strong army. He, the Heavenly Palace King Hui, is a king, and is a main god-level existence at the same level as the Holy Kesha and the god of death Karl, but in fact, his current strength is too far behind these main gods. If the Holy Kesha had not fallen, with her strength, coupled with her sacred knowledge treasury and the king's arsenal, Kesha alone could directly suppress the entire universe. Although the god of death Karl is no longer an ordinary god, he has mastered the latest and most advanced technology. If he wants to, he can immediately become the strongest existence in the universe. In this case, Hui wants to rise again. The only chance is to summon back 1,000,000 troops and rely on the numerical advantage of the male angel army to become one of the strongest existences in the universe again. After all, after Kesha, there should be no one who can completely ignore the difference in numbers and directly suppress the entire universe by himself. You will know whether you can resist it or not. Li Qingyun's eyes were fixed on Huiyi. Until this moment, he suddenly realized that this heavenly palace King Huiyi was much stronger than when he came to attack the Mellow Heavenly Palace in the original book. Judging from the currently observable data, Huiyi's overall strength has been greatly improved, and his divine body is not the original 3rd generation divine body, but has been upgraded to the 4th generation. The 3rd generation divine body and the 4th generation divine body seem to be only one level apart, but in fact there is a greater gap than the previous 3 stages. Because the 3rd generation divine body can still be killed. God-killing weapons, Suian weapons, and even flame-level weapons can kill it as long as they can attack the vital points. But the 4th generation divine body is almost immortal, and some people even speculate that the 4th generation divine body will not die at all. Just like after the holy Kesha was shattered by the supernova, it continued to survive in the form of divine atoms scattered throughout the universe. I didn't expect that the death god Karl would upgrade him to the 4th generation divine body. If this is true, I'm afraid that even if I blast him to pieces today, I can't kill him directly, Li Qingyun thought in his heart. He originally wanted to kill Huiyi directly today, so that he could be done once and for all. And Huiyi would not be upgraded to a phantom again in the future. But this time, Huiyi directly became the 4th generation divine body. As for whether the 4th generation divine body can really be killed, Li Qingyun has not studied it seriously. He has no idea how to kill the phantom body. Death Karl specially upgraded Huiyi to the 4th generation divine body. I am afraid that he did this specifically because he knew that I had the 4th generation divine body and wanted to test my strength. Li Qingyun's current thinking speed is very fast. These thoughts appeared in his mind, and it took only a short moment for him to figure out the whole cause and effect. Skyblade number 6, Skyblade number 7, prepare to start the Skyblade judgment. Li Qingyun directly conveyed the order to Skyblade number 6 and Skyblade number 7. The 2 celestial spacecraft immediately began to prepare the energy required for the attack. Oh no, it's the Skyblade judgment. Ruoning only took a look at Skyblade number 6 and Skyblade number 7, and immediately realized what the 2 celestial spacecraft wanted to do. Heavenly Blade Judgment. Huiyi didn't know about this attack method. After all, the Heavenly Blade Judgment was an attack method that was upgraded in the last few thousand years. The celestial spacecraft didn't have it before. That is an attack method that is even more powerful than the Heavenly Blade Judgment. If it is launched, even if this spacecraft has a void barrier, it will not be able to withstand it. After all, Ruoning was once a sacred left-wing guard, and he was very familiar with this technology and attack methods. Immediately take evasive action. All spacecraft immediately attack the 2 heavenly blades. When Huiyi heard that the Heavenly Blade Judgment could directly destroy their spacecraft, he immediately became anxious. All the TOD Legion spacecrafts around adjusted their directions at this moment and aimed their guns at the 2 Heavenly Blade spacecrafts. Then, a large number of lasers and several extremely strong laser cannons quickly bombarded the 2 Heavenly Blades. However, all these attacks were blocked by the space-time shield outside the Heavenly Blade spacecraft, and did not cause any damage to the Heavenly Blade spacecraft at all. What kind of shield is this? It can't even be used by antimatter laser cannons that can destroy a city. Huiyi didn't know much about the Skyblade number 7, but he knew the attack firepower of the Teodi spacecraft very well. That is a space-time shield, which was developed by Li Zai 10,000 years ago. It combines the space wormhole with the light energy barrier to create a space-time barrier, Ruoning said. Although she didn't think Li Zai was that strong, she still admired Li Zai's technological ability. More than half of the technology of the entire Mellow Heavenly Court was developed by her. What should we do now? Huiyi has power, but he is not much stronger than Zhezialan. He has fallen behind too much in the past 30,000 years. Use your black hole engine. This thing was made by the god of death Karl. In terms of technology, it must be more powerful than all the technologies that Izai has studied, Ruoning reminded. Okay, Huiyi was still very obedient. At least now that he could only use Ruoning to deal with Mellow Heavenly Court, he would definitely listen to Ruoning. He raised both hands at the same time. And a virtual control platform shaped like a Bagua diagram appeared in front of Huiyi. Then he began to operate according to the algorithm provided by ruining and using his own abilities. Chapter 293, Attack the Enemy. As Hui Yi operated, an energy field began to gradually form between the two Skyblade warships. This energy field generated a very strong traction force, causing the two huge Skyblade warships to start shaking continuously. God of Chaos, under the influence of strong gravity, the energy of the Skyblade warships began to pour out, and the use of the Skyblade judgment was disturbed. The staff responsible for the operation in Skyblade number 6 and Skyblade number 7 immediately reported to Li Qingyun. You should prepare as much as possible, and all other angels above the second generation will go to battle immediately. Remember, you should give priority to protecting your own safety. Your Skybase King does not want you to sacrifice in vain in this war, Li Qingyun deliberately reminded. His eye is very protective of the lives of the angel sisters, so if possible, she hopes that the angels can die as little as possible. Yes, the angels answered in unison, and then 2,000 angel warriors flew out of the Skyblade warships at the same time. This time, there were more than 2,000 angels coming out with Li Qingyun, and most of them were second generation or above, with only a few hundred first generation angels, and they basically stayed in the Skyblade battleship, responsible for the control of the Skyblade battleship. The reason for this arrangement is that Izai hopes to kill fewer angels, so he sent out as many elites as possible. Because they were sent out by Izai himself, there were even dozens of high-level guard angels with a lifespan of more than 10,000 years among these angel warriors. You know, in the entire angel army, there are only a few hundred high-level guard angels with a lifespan of more than 10,000 years, and many of them are in extremely important positions in the Mellow Heavenly Court, either guarding the Skyblade series of spacecraft, guarding the space-based computing group, or guarding certain keynotes. Moreover, they have been fighting for too long and are basically in a semi-retired state. If they are not willing, they will generally not be sent out to perform tasks. Collect them for me. Li Qingyun's figure also appeared outside the Skyblade number 7 at the same time, in space. He just raised his hand and wiped out the void force field originally released by Hui Yi. Then, he raised his hand and summoned a huge spear. This spear was formed by the condensation of many flying blades. Its size was thousands of times that of the flying blades, and its destructive power was naturally thousands of times increased. Now Li Qingyun used this move, and his goal was also very simple, that is, to aim at the spaceship where Hui was. Take the initiative to attack. If you only passively defend, this spaceship can't bear it. Ru Onying was helpless. At this time, even if they could interfere with the use of the Skyblade judgment by the Skyblade warship, they could not stop Li Qingyun from using powerful attack methods. Then, everyone, come on, Hui would not rush alone. With 2,000 angels on the opposite side killing him, he naturally had to let his tens of thousands of Teodi soldiers and thousands of male angels charge together. Although their individual combat capabilities were far inferior to those of the female angels, they had a 10 to 20-fold advantage in numbers. I believe that with this, they could also put great pressure on those angels. Moreover, Hui was not unprepared this time. He had already asked for a large number of high-level equipment from the god of death Karl, such as god-killing weapons, flame-level weapons, and even many low-end void weapons. In addition, there was a group of special guys, those triangles that were created by the god of death Karl from a civilization called Mottled Blue. Now, the triangles are still hidden in the dark, hidden in the cabin of his spaceship, and they are to be used by Hui as a killer. Under Hui's command, tens of thousands of Teodi rushed out first and took the initiative to meet the flying angels. For a while, the two armies directly fought each other and launched a melee in space. At the same time, Hui had already held his Shiansha sword and rushed towards Li Qingyun. Shiansha sword, Li Qingyun also summoned his Shiansha sword, but compared with the one in Hui's hand, the one in Li Qingyun's hand had a red line on the sword body, and a circle of red energy was constantly rotating at the location of the core engine. Li Qingyun's Shiansha sword. Soon after Li Qingyun succeeded, he combined the two together after obtaining the ether particles. Although the ether particles have been transferred to the time platform, the Shiansha sword has been affected by the ether particles for a long time, and the Uru metal itself has the characteristics of absorbing magic and storing energy. The power of the ether particles is still retained in the Shiansha sword. Therefore, Li Qingyun's Shiansha sword also has a stronger power than the void engine, the reality power of the reality gem. You actually have a Shiansha sword, Yi saw the Xianxia sword in Li Qingyun's hand, with a little surprise on his face. Yes, I have it too. Li Qingyun got the production data of the Xianxia sword through the big clock, so he directly asked Thor to help find the dwarves to personally forge the sword body of the Xianxia sword, and Li Qingyun made the core of the Xianxia sword with the help of the big clock. Therefore, this Xianxia sword itself is a copy of the one in Yi's hand. However, the material of the Xianxia sword and the real gem contained in it are not possessed by the one in Yi's hand. Moreover, my Xianxia sword is much stronger than yours. As Li Qingyun spoke, he swung his right hand violently, and the huge spear that had been gathered behind him flew out directly at this time. The target of the spear was the spaceship behind Yi. This is called attacking where the enemy must save. The spaceship is an extremely important property for Yi. Before he finds the Xiangong, he still has to rely on this spaceship as a shelter when fighting in the universe, so he will never let it be destroyed. Therefore, Yi must block the spear that Li Qingyun shot at this moment. Yi did not choose to dodge, but directly blocked the silver spear as Li Qingyun guessed. He held the Xianxia sword tightly in his right hand, and pressed the index and middle fingers of his left hand on the sword. With a light touch, a layer of black energy formed on the sword. This is the void power of the black hole engine, which can greatly increase the power of the sword of heavenly destruction. It is one of the few ways that Yi knows of using the power of the black hole engine. Break it. Yi suddenly raised the sword of heavenly destruction and stabbed it directly at the spear. The tip of the sword and the tip of the spear collided head-on, and the powerful impact instantly made Yi's body retreat backwards. However, in the same way, the silver spear also shattered immediately after colliding with the sword of heavenly destruction. The silver spear returned to the state of a flying blade. Chapter 294 Black Hole Engine? I've left the rest. As expected of a black hole engine, this power is indeed not weak, Li Qingyun said in praise, but his hand movements did not slow down at all. He put his left index finger and middle finger together, and then spun in the air. The countless flying blades that were scattered began to surround him like a storm and began to spin rapidly. Holy Domain, Onying was watching this scene from behind, and was shocked beyond words. Keisha's Holy Domain was developed by Keisha more than 7,000 years ago. At that time, Angel Yang had not yet joined the Angel Corps, and she was at the peak of her popularity. As a dignified Holy Left Wing Guard, standing beside Holy Keisha, she naturally had the most profound memory of the scene when Keisha used this Holy Domain. She still clearly remembers the scene when Keisha used the Holy Domain for the first time. At that time, the Demon Corps still adopted the human wave tactics. Hundreds of demons were swarming and attacking Keisha, but in an instant, when Keisha released the Holy Domain, all of the more than 100 demons were killed. So far, even if the god of death Karl has developed the void technology, Ruining has never heard of anyone else who can possess this sacred domain. I haven't reached that point yet, Li Qingyun smiled. Although he was fighting with Yi, he was observing all the situations around him, and he could naturally hear what Ruining said. Humph. I think so too, Ruining snorted coldly, but she was still muttering in her heart. Even if Li Qingyun has not reached the level of possessing a sacred domain, there is no doubt that Li Qingyun's control of the flying blade at this moment is the same as when Keisha controlled the silver wings. This at least shows that the flying blade in Li Qingyun's hand is the same dark silver killing god weapon as Keisha's silver wings. Every angel is very clear about the power of this weapon, otherwise it would not be until now that the Skybase King Hexi still regards these dark silver weapons as the biggest taboo and secret, and always keeps them in Keisha's king's weaponry. You know, even this new Skyblade King Yan has not been able to fully obtain the right to use the king's weaponry. Yi, use your strongest means to attack directly. Don't delay with him. He may have secretly obtained the authority of the entire Keisha arsenal provided by his eye. The number of Suyin weapons and god-killing weapons in his hands will be very terrifying. Ruining secretly sent a message to Yi. When Yi heard Ruining's words, his expression was also extremely ugly. Keisha's arsenal was one of the things Yi wanted to get the most. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the old woman Hizai took it out and gave it to Li Qingyun. Boy, look at my black hole attack. Yi suddenly raised the Xianxia sword and slashed it fiercely at the position where Li Qingyun was. The moment the sword fell, a huge black arc-shaped sword energy flew towards Li Qingyun. A move that has not been used in the original book. Li Qingyun looked at this move, but the Eye of Insight immediately analyzed the whole situation. The void energy of the black hole engine is brought into play through a simple slashing action. In fact, the power generated is more powerful than the energy condensed by ordinary energy. Li Qingyun can see clearly. Not only is he clear about the energy of this move, but he also knows exactly how Hou Yi used it. This is what I have left. Li Qingyun also swung the long sword in his hand, and the same sword energy rushed towards the sword energy that Hou Yi chopped out. The sword energy collided, and Hou Yi's attack was easily resolved. The black hole engine is something that Li Qingyun had already researched when he was in the Marvel Universe. It has been implemented and used for a long time. Now Li Qingyun has already upgraded, and the black hole engine has been integrated with Jezzaelin's anti-void power, as well as ether particles and chaos magic, which have the ability to modify the laws and reality of the universe, to create a more powerful, new power. Next, let me show you my power. Li Qingyun pointed his sword at Hou Yi, and a black light instantly shone from the sword, piercing through Hou Yi's chest before he could react. The light did not cause any direct injuries to Hou Yi, but after the attack, Hou Yi froze in place, unable to move at all. What's going on? Hou Yi was stunned. He was a fourth-generation divine body, and he had a black hole engine, but how could he be unable to move at the touch of a sword? Start time. Li Qingyun uttered these 4 words, and then, under his feet, a huge platform gradually appeared. It was a huge time machine, with hour, minute, and second hands constantly moving. However, this seemingly ordinary clock, at this moment, showed something that would make everyone completely stunned at a glance. Because, in that time machine, there is a constant flow of energy being released, and this energy is something none of them have ever touched, and no one can understand. Even Hizai, who is watching in the mellow heavenly palace at this moment, and the god of death Karl, who is staring at it in the Death Song Academy, can't understand what kind of powerful characteristics are contained in it. God of chaos, under chaos, everything is under my control. Li Qingyun muttered such a sentence, and the moment his voice fell, the entire universe seemed to stagnate. I will cut through the void with one sword. Li Qingyun suddenly threw the long sword in his hand, and the long sword flew to the top of Hou Yi's head, and suddenly turned into a big sword that was 100 meters long above him. The big sword did not move at all, but at the moment it appeared, the black hole engine in Hou Yi's body seemed to be suppressed, and all the power was lost. I will use flying blades to block time and space. Li Qingyun gently waved his left hand, and countless flying blades came directly around Hou Yi at this moment, like a storm, blocking the entire time and space around Hou Yi. No, Ruining shouted angrily, and then rushed out of the spaceship. She had realized what Li Qingyun was doing at the moment. She knew that once Li Qingyun completed the release of his move, then with a sword, even if Hou Yi had a fourth-generation divine body, he would probably die. Your opponent is me. Ruining had just flown out of the spaceship when the angel cooled down and turned into a white light, appearing directly in front of Ruining, and directly stopped her with a flaming sword. Chapter 295 Between Master and Disciple. Leng, Ruining looked at the angel Leng who was blocking her and froze in place. Are you going to be my enemy too? Don't forget who gave you all these skills. Ruining was very angry at the moment. If it was someone else who came to stop her, she would think there was nothing wrong, because they were in different camps. But now the one who came to stop her was actually her student, the student to whom she had personally taught her combat skills and the ability to control super genes. You know, at the stage of super warriors like them, the master-disciple relationship is already very important. After all, they can live for thousands, tens of thousands of years or even longer. The so-called relatives have all disappeared in the first few decades. This is why the Holy Kesha is so friendly to the Angel Yen, and why Li Zai attaches so much importance to Zhi's in. You and I are in different camps. Today, I am dealing with you only because of faith and position, and it has nothing to do with master-disciple or anything like that. It's not that Angel Leng is cold and ruthless, but in her opinion, the moment Ruining betrayed Mellow Heaven, he was no longer her teacher. The most important thing is that Ruining, the teacher, is actually not that competent. Think about the teaching of the Holy Kesha to Angel Yen, and think about Izai's generous teaching to Zixin. In comparison, Ruining's teaching to Angel Leng can be basically ignored. Angel Leng did not learn much real skills from Ruining. She just received the same knowledge training as other angels who had just entered the Angel Corps. It was just because of her excellent performance that she was selected for key training, so the angel Ruining, who was the Holy Left Wing Guard at the time, was asked to teach her in person. It's a pity that Ruining didn't pay too much attention during the teaching process, especially after Angel Yan appeared and gradually showed his edge. Ruining's mind was all on intrigue. It was precisely because of Ruining's impure thoughts that Keisha gave her position of holy left-wing guard to Yan. Otherwise, with Keisha's character, how could she replace a veteran who had been following her since the beginning of Mellow Heaven from such a key position for no reason? It's just about the position? Is there something wrong with my position? Ruining didn't think he did anything wrong. Keisha is dead, and the Justice Order is no longer the Justice Order of the past. I just want the Celestial King to come back and re-establish the Celestial Order, so that the Angel Civilization can continue to be the unique and strongest civilization in the universe, Ruining said, and her tone seemed so firm and so natural. The Celestial Order? It is indeed unique in the universe, because it is the most shameless order in the world. Angel Ling was not from the old times, but as long as she listened to the story once, she could immediately understand why angels like Hexy and the others would be so disgusted with the existence of the Celestial Order, the so-called male angels of Yanwu Naxi. You? Ruining's face turned pale. She didn't expect that her student would have such great malice towards her. Now, step back. I can spare your life for the sake of our relationship as master and apprentice, but if you insist on doing it, I will kill you with my own hands. Angel Ling did not say defeat, but kill. This means that he has really decided to completely draw a line with Ruining and treat him as a real enemy. Only when facing an enemy will it be a life and death battle. Want to kill me? Do you think you have the ability to do that? Ruining took out her amethyst sword. She had to save Hua Yi, because if she didn't take action, Hua Yi would probably be killed by Li Qingyun. Therefore, even if she was stopped by Angel Ling, she must defeat him and then save Hua Yi. I have. Angel Ling's face was full of confidence. Even though she knew in her heart that there was actually a lot of gap between her and Ruining, she was still confident that she, who was fighting under the order of justice, would bury the fallen teacher in the starry sky protected by the angels. Then let me see how capable my student, who I have personally trained for thousands of years, is now, Ruining said, and then he suddenly charged. Angel Ling also flapped his wings and rushed towards Ruining from the front. The master and apprentice just started a fight in this space. In order to save Hua Yi, Ruining showed no mercy at this time, and every move was a killing move. Angel Ling is now also firm in his belief. Facing his teacher's attack that goes straight to the vital point, he always sticks to his position and actively looks for ways to fight back. When Angel Ling stopped Ruining, Li Qingyun's attack on Hua Yi was still continuing. Cutting through the void with a heavenly sword and shocking time and space with a flying blade, Hua Yi was now completely in an independent time and space under Li Qingyun's attack. He couldn't move, and the energy in his body was constantly lost. The reason why Li Qingyun didn't directly launch the final attack was because he was not sure whether the attack launched with this move alone could directly destroy his fourth-generation divine body. Therefore, Li Qingyun needs to drain and consume as much energy as possible from Hua Yi's body, so that Hua Yi can enter the weakest state. When the divine power in Hua Yi's body has dropped to a very low level, Li Qingyun will launch a fatal move to completely disperse his divine body. At that time, without sufficient energy support, this fourth-generation divine body should not be able to condense. What a smart god of chaos, Death Carl sighed, and he had already understood Li Qingyun's intention at this time. Nusa, if you attack the god of chaos and attack his body directly, you should be able to destroy his offensive. Death Carl sent an order to Nusa, who was at the front line. When Nusa heard the order from Death Carl, he immediately took action. Although it was a clone, the combat power of his clone was definitely the top among the 3 generations. In addition, he had the Void Blade in his hand. He was sure that no one among these angels could stop him. So, he rushed out of the spaceship directly, turned into purple shadow, and quickly flew towards the location of Li Qingyun's body. Reina, stop him! His eyes voice also came at this time and reached Reina's ears. But I don't have the ability to fly, Reina replied. I will be here to provide you with combat support. At the same time as his eyes voice came, a ball of invisible energy appeared under Reina's feet, pushing her forward. Chapter 296, I thought it was a comeback, but it turned out to be a last gasp. With the help of his eye, Reina quickly came to Li Qingyun and stood in front of Nusa. If it was Nusa's real body that came today, then when facing the current Reina, there would be a chance to get past Reina's defense and get close to Li Qingyun. But now, it was only a clone of Nusa who came. How much strength can this clone have compared to the real body? So, Nusa was directly stopped by Reina. On the other side, Ruining faced Angel Leng. Although she was always on the strong side, she was also unable to get past Angel Leng's block in time. Moreover, after discovering that Angel Leng was in a weak position, some people in the Angel Corps had already begun to be on guard here, and the Skyblade number 7 behind him fully supported Angel Leng, allowing Angel Leng to obtain the strongest energy support in time during the battle. In the original book, Ruining killed Angel Leng, but that was when Angel Leng was in a relatively weak state without the support of the Holy Knowledge Treasure House. Now Angel Leng not only maintains the communication system of the Holy Knowledge Treasure House, but also directly obtains the support of the entire computing system of Skyblade number 7, and its combat power is even stronger than before. This kind of enhancement directly narrowed the gap between Angel Leng and Ruining. Without anyone being able to interfere, Li Qingyun's moves were performed smoothly. The energy in Hu Yi's body was completely lost after just a few dozen seconds. Hu Yi, who is always thinking about indulging himself, is now really like a scum who has indulged himself too much, with only skin and bones left. Carl, don't you plan to save him? Li Qingyun raised his head and looked into the space above. He knew that the god of death Carl must have been watching. I am far away in the dark nebula now, what can I do? The voice of the god of death Carl came. This was the second time he had a direct conversation with Li Qingyun like this, but the result was not very good every time. The last time, it was the god of death Carl who was directly expelled, and this time, it was probably the moment when he witnessed Hu Yi being killed by Li Qingyun in an instant. Space phase replacement, aren't you very familiar with this technology? Li Qingyun said. Space phase replacement can indeed transform the space of the universe, but the problem is that you have already blocked the void and time and space in the area where Hu Yi is, and space phase replacement can no longer release him. Death Carl had thought about using this trip to rescue Hu Yi. But the problem is that the ability Li Qingyun used at this moment is too special. The heavenly sword turned into a 100-meter giant sword, blocking the entire void. The flying blade turned into a sword formation, blocking the entire time and space. The void and time and space have been completely blocked, and the space phase replacement technology that Death Carl had used before can no longer be used. Is there no way to transfer? Li Qingyun asked back, but when he said this, Death Carl didn't know what to say for a while. Li Qingyun clearly knew that his trick could block the space, but he pretended not to know, which was clearly a mockery of him. You specially upgraded Hu Yi to the 4th generation of Divine Body, probably to let him test what my real strength is. Now I have only used 2 moves, and Hu Yi is about to die. Your plan will fail again. Li Qingyun said this clearly. And Hu Yi, who was bound and dying due to energy loss, could also hear it clearly. Hu Yi knew that he was actually just a tool used by the god of death Carl to test Li Qingyun's strength. Everything he did was just a waste of effort. He, the dignified king of Xiangong, was just a little guinea pig. If I had known this earlier, I would have stayed on that small planet for the rest of my life. Hu Yi regretted it at this moment, but no matter how much he regretted it, it was useless. Li Qingyun's strength was too strong. He had sealed himself here directly and cleared all his strength. Now he was just working alone. Although you drained the power in Hu Yi's body in advance, it doesn't mean that you can really kill him, said the god of death Carl. Theoretically, the 4th generation of divine bodies cannot be killed easily. Then let's try, Li Qingyun said, and raised his right hand directly above his head. No, are you Ning, who was watching this scene from a distance, immediately shouted in fear. However, her wailing could not stir up any waves for Li Qingyun. His right hand suddenly dropped, and the 100-meter-long sword hovering above Hu Yi's head fell directly. Hu Yi, who had already turned into a human body, had no ability to resist the 100-meter-long sword falling from the sky. He couldn't even let out his last sigh. As the 100-meter-long sword fell, Hu Yi's divine body turned into countless light spots in an instant. Collect, Li Qingyun uttered lightly, and clenched the 5 fingers of his right hand. The flying blades scattered around Hu Yi quickly fell towards the light spots that Hu Yi's divine body had turned into. Under the attack of the flying blades, the light spots of Hu Yi's divine body that had been shattered were also completely wiped out. At this moment, Hu Yi did not leave even a trace of powder, and his divine body did not even leave a single atom. This is the attack that Li Qingyun needs to spend several minutes to prepare. It is the method he has conceived and is most likely to directly kill Hu Yi, who has a 4th generation divine body. What is the situation of the target atom? Li Qingyun retracted his hand, and the huge Xianxia sword returned to Li Qingyun's hand, and countless flying blades disappeared. The energy of the target atom has completely disappeared, but the essence of the atom is difficult to be destroyed. Do you need to change the atomic data again by changing the proton rules? The time platform sent a question. This is the place where Li Qingyun's upgraded void controller is more powerful than the general super gene engine. No, Li Qingyun did not ask for this. In fact, to change so much atomic data at once is a very huge project, and the way to change it requires entering the quantum field through PIM particles to modify it. The situation of the quantum field in this super God universe has not been explored at all. Li Qingyun is not willing to try rashly. Understood, the time platform answered. The space-based computing group is ready and is transmitting all of Hui's atoms to other areas of the universe. This message came from the Skyblade number 7 in the back. Obviously, although Li Qingyun did not intend to do this, his eye did not intend to let Hui have a chance to revive. Chapter 297 The Secret of the Triangle. Hui came to invade Mellow Heaven with great momentum, but he just took the opportunity to sneak attack and destroy a line of defense, and was killed by Li Qingyun, who came out of Mellow Heaven. Moreover, even if the god of death Karl was watching on the scene, he couldn't revive Hui again. He was dead. Hui was dead, and the Xianxia group formed by Hui collapsed in an instant. Hundreds of male angels lost a motivation to continue fighting at this moment, and turned around and started to flee one by one. Tens of thousands of Teodi soldiers also turned around at this time, and began to retreat in the direction they came from. The judgment of the Skyblade is ready, and the priority target is Hui's void spaceship and the flagship of the Teodi. The Skyblade number 6 and the Skyblade number 7 have also completed their respective preparations for the attack of the Skyblade judgment at this time. Two huge space gates appeared above Hui's original void spaceship and the fleeing Teodi flagship. A huge golden sword appeared in each of the two space gates, and then the huge golden sword slashed at the two spaceships. It was aiming at a very fast speed. Whether it was Teodi's flagship or Hui's spaceship with a void barrier, they were all destroyed in an instant under the attack of the two Skyblade judgments. 5 triangles flew out of Hui's spaceship. Among these triangles, 4 were like the ones that invaded the Earth in the original book, and 1 was like the small one that followed Hui. However, judging from the appearance, the 4 looked very tall, but in fact, their strength was average. On the contrary, the power contained in the smaller one was much stronger than that of the 4 tall people. There are 5 more triangles hidden. Li Qingyun looked at these triangles and couldn't help complaining. Hui hid them in the spaceship, probably intending to use them as a means of concealment, intending to play the role of surprise attack at the critical moment. It's just a pity that they didn't even have the chance to attack, and Hui was already dead. Li Qingyun said so, and the step directly crossed a distance of dozens of kilometers, and in a blink of an eye, he had arrived in front of the triangle. Isn't it too rude to leave without leaving anything? Li Qingyun looked at the triangles in front of him. There were data records about them in the big clock, but this was the first time that Li Qingyun really encountered a triangle. In Li Qingyun's view, the triangle is a relatively special existence. Li Qingyun even felt that he should be able to discover more and more powerful abilities from them. We have no intention of being enemies with you, the small triangle spoke. It was the leader of this team of triangles. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, you have all come, and you are in the invaders' camp. Li Qingyun's meaning is very clear, that is, since you have all come, the hostile relationship is established. If you want to resolve it, you must pay something. So, what do you want? The triangle is not stupid. Since Li Qingyun said so, it naturally knows that Li Qingyun wants to get something from them. Maybe, like Hui, they want to make them his subordinates and help him fight someone. Tell me all the information about Model Blue. In addition, leave all your genetic information and supernatural factors. Li Qingyun has the habit of collecting supernatural factors. When he was in the Marvel Universe, Li Qingyun once collected all the supernatural factors that he could contact. In his body, there are many powerful supernatural factors. For example, chaos magic, the genes of the Celestials, the Aesir, the superstars, etc. Anyway, all the powerful and special supernatural factors in the Marvel Universe have been integrated into Li Qingyun's body. Of course, Li Qingyun will not directly integrate the supernatural factor of the triangle into his body now, but he will definitely analyze the supernatural factor completely, and then investigate what secrets are hidden in the genes of the triangle, and whether there are deeper meanings. Are you going to steal the secrets in my triangle's genes? The little triangle asked back, and there was obviously more anger in its tone. Not stealing, but asking for it openly. Li Qingyun did not beat around the bush with it. This was his purpose, and the triangle would give it whether it agreed or not. The final result was just whether the triangle would feel better. What if I don't agree? The triangle was unwilling, because this information was too important to them, which was much more important than them simply being thugs for humans. Therefore, they would rather die this time than betray their race. If you don't agree, do you think you have the right to refuse? Li Qingyun's tone instantly became cold, and his eyes turned into two balls of light at this moment, as if they penetrated into the body of the triangle, deep into the body and soul of the triangle. In the eyes of the triangle, Li Qingyun at this moment was like a huge god, who could crush him to death with just one finger. This was Li Qingyun using his ability to invade other people's minds, which came from the supernatural factors of superstars. Using this trick, Li Qingyun began to completely control the brain of the triangle, its soul and thoughts. In this case, all the hidden secrets of the triangle were searched out by him, including all the information of their model blue civilization, all the genetic data of the triangle species, and the innate ability data of the triangle. In fact, Li Qingyun's way of directly entering their minds and controlling their souls can also allow Li Qingyun to more intuitively control these triangles and feel the perspective of the world in the eyes of the triangle. In this case, Li Qingyun has a further understanding of the situation of the triangle. At this moment, he suddenly understood why the triangle was so special. As expected of the creatures closest to the void, you can actually see the world of the void naturally, Li Qingyun sighed. Through the triangle's thinking, he saw many things that he could not see before. You can see the void naturally, and you have an innate advantage in the application of cosmic laws and conceptual abilities. If you were given tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years of development time like human civilization, you triangles would definitely create a powerful civilization that far surpasses all current human civilizations. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298 Not My Kind. The physical condition of the triangle is superior. Its brain development ability, vision, perception, etc. are far stronger than humans. But the triangle is also far inferior to humans, that is, the convenient hands. Although the triangle is more powerful in terms of brain, humans realize the importance of creation earlier in the process of survival because they walk upright and free their hands. Therefore, humans, with less developed brains than the triangle, have started to evolve first. Therefore, in the current super god universe, humans have always occupied an absolute dominant position. Looking at the entire known universe, among all these planets with life, almost every planet will be developed by a human civilization or animal civilization first. The probability of the triangle appearing first on a certain planet as an intelligent life is extremely low. Well, the latecomer is superior. This may be the law of nature, but once people have wisdom, how can they let other creatures appear and oppress themselves? Li Qingyun now finally understands why Acacia and the Space Principal both choose to directly launch a physical war against the triangle when facing it. In the universe, between two different species, when faced with a creature that has more outstanding abilities than oneself, but is full of innate malice towards oneself, it is natural to suppress the other party directly and eliminate all their threats. Even if Li Qingyun were to do this now, his choice would be the same. So, now, you can die? Li Qingyun casually grasped the 5 triangles, and in an instant, they turned into a ball of powder. Hizai, can you use the troops of your mellow heavenly court to let me organize a war against the model blue? Li Qingyun killed these triangles, but his target was directly locked on the entire modeled blue civilization behind them. Are you going to start a war against the model blue? Hizai asked in surprise. Yes, Li Qingyun nodded. This idea was made after he had completely read the information of the triangles. I remember that in the information you provided about the Marvel world, many different species of creatures were mentioned. You don't seem to be so cruel to them, right? Hizai had already realized that Li Qingyun was going to kill all the model blue, so she couldn't help but want to figure out why Li Qingyun made such a choice. In the Marvel world, Although the forms of those lives are different, their way of thinking is the same. Like orcs, tree people, and all kinds of strange life forms, most of them still have the same ideas and thinking as humans, but the triangles are different. Although they are also intelligent creatures, their way of thinking is completely different from that of humans, and there is no possibility of compatibility at all. Today we have the advantage, so when facing our strong suppression, they will choose to obey. Once their triangles grow up in the future, they will not hesitate to eliminate all humans, because, in their minds, humans are low-level intelligent creatures like beasts, and they are not worthy of being on the same level as them. Li Qingyun completely read the thoughts and consciousness of the triangles, so he clearly knew what the triangles really thought. I just mentioned the Marvel world, but if we want to move the relationship between the triangles and humans in the Super God universe to the Marvel world, the triangles are not cosmic creatures like Rocket Raccoon or Groot, they are more like the aliens in the Independence Day movie. The meaning of their existence is to plunder the resources in the universe one after another, all the resources they need, and then kill all the humans who hinder them. Is there really such a huge difference between the triangles and us humans? I was also a little surprised. She originally knew that the triangles were different from humans and animals, and she also knew that humans had to suppress the other two populations so that humans could always be the dominant group in the universe. But she didn't expect that these triangles actually had such a huge innate hostility towards humans in the depths of their consciousness. This innate and acquired are not the same concept. The Angel Corps can mobilize only about 2,000 people from your side. If you think this number is enough, you can take them to fight the war you want, I said. Although she was willing to send troops to Li Qingyun, Mellow Heavenly Court could not send out a large number of troops now. Enough, Li Qingyun knew the current situation of the Angel Corps, so he naturally would not ask for too much. After discussing with Li Qingyun began to focus on the battlefield again. The Xianzhe group had been defeated across the board. Nusa had already fled after seeing Hu Yi's death. Ruining was still fighting, but her mental state had problems. She was gradually losing the battle with Angel Leng. Qilin, give that Ruining another shot, Li Qingyun said. The next second, a red light suddenly appeared in space. It landed accurately on Ruining's head and shot through her head in an instant. Ruining had lost her ability to suppress Angel Leng due to her mental state. Now she was suddenly hit by the flaming armor-piercing projectile and was immediately severely injured. At the same time, Angel Leng did not hold back. The flaming sword burned with stellar energy and pierced Ruining's chest and heart. Ruining was only a third-generation divine body. Qilin's flaming armor-piercing projectile might not be able to kill her directly, but Angel Leng's sword was enough to destroy her gene engine. At this moment, she had no chance of survival after her heart was pierced by the flaming sword. The super gene engine was completely destroyed, and she gave up the opportunity to continue struggling. She didn't even need to consume her last energy to upload any combat data like Angel Leng did. Because even if Ruining uploaded her own story, no angel in the Mellow Heaven would care, and even no one in the entire universe would care. She could only close her eyes unwillingly, and let her body float in the air, letting the energy in her body be completely consumed, and then as time passed, she would eventually turn into a handful of dust in the universe. Chapter 299 Direct Attack on Model Blue. The battle to defend the City of Heaven was won without any surprise. But this army did not return to the Mellow Heavenly Palace. Under the leadership of Li Qingyun and with the authorization of Li Qingyun took the two celestial spaceships and more than 2,000 angel warriors in the spaceships and set off directly to the home planet of the Triangle, Model Blue. Model Blue, this is a planet that appears to be more than 90% ocean on the surface. 90% of the area is ocean. No wonder a civilization composed entirely of triangles was born on this planet. Li Qingyun stood in space, overlooking the sky blue planet below. God of Chaos, a heavy voice suddenly appeared in Li Qingyun's ears. It came from the blue planet below, and the way of speaking clearly came from the consciousness and thinking. This is the triangle, but the triangle that is speaking at this moment is obviously much stronger than the one Li Qingyun faced before. You can send me a message directly. It seems that you are the leader of this modeled blue country, right? Li Qingyun said, and his voice was transmitted back to the triangle that greeted him in the same way. Yes, the voice came again. I already understand the purpose of your coming here, but this time, I can assure you that from now on, modeled blue will never be an enemy of you angels and earth humans again. Can you withdraw your troops? Modeled blue is still in the development stage. As a king, He knows very well that the current modeled blue is not suitable for a real war with any main god civilization. It is precisely because of this that the triangles outside of their modeled blue were captured by the god of death Karl, making the triangles become soldiers under Hui Yi. All of this, he, the leader of the modeled blue country, chose to turn a blind eye. But it didn't expect that because of the departure of those triangles, Li Qingyun led a large number of angel warriors today and came to modeled blue in person to attack them. This is a whole angel army, which means that a real battle is about to begin between the two sides. This is the beginning of a war between two civilizations. Modeled blue can sacrifice some of its triangles and a few generals, but it cannot really get involved in a war between civilizations. Because, if this kind of war between civilizations fails, it will be the destruction of the entire civilization. Moreover, with their triangle status, even if they can win this battle, the other human main god civilizations will never stand idly by. Once the physical war starts, it is definitely not a matter of two civilizations, but a matter of the entire group. Once the more than 2,000 angel warriors in front of them lose, the entire angel army behind them, and even the earth, the fiery sun, and the demon army will all get involved. These main god civilizations can fight to the death among themselves, but once they find that another group of civilizations has appeared and can defeat their main god civilizations, they will all regard modeled blue as a common enemy. Because this is related to the honor, disgrace, survival and death between the two groups. Since I'm here, I'm going to solve all the problems. Li Qingyun won't give modeled blue any chance. Otherwise, how could he lead his army to modeled blue immediately after destroying Hui Yi's Xianzhou group? So, war is inevitable. The tone of the Lord of modeled blue became very gloomy. Unavoidable. Li Qingyun's attitude was already very obvious, and even a large amount of energy began to gather on the two celestial spaceships behind him. This was the energy gathered by the two celestial spaceships, and this time the target of the attack was not the two spaceships at the Angel Nebula, but the blue planet below. In this case, let's fight it out, the Lord of modeled blue said this, and almost instantly, next to the two huge celestial spaceships, 7 extremely huge triangles suddenly appeared out of thin air. Their huge bodies swayed and collided directly with the two celestial spaceships, so that the two Skyblade-class celestial spaceships actually began to shake continuously. Lena, Li Qingyun immediately sent a message to Lena when he saw the triangles appearing. Lena was already prepared. She took a step forward and raised both her hands at the same time. A golden beam of light immediately shot out from her hands and bombarded one of the triangles. The triangle did not dodge Lena's attack at all, but the golden beam of light that bombarded it disappeared at this moment. When it appeared again, the golden beam of light fell on the top of Skyblade VI and fell directly towards Skyblade VI. A huge explosion occurred in an instant. The entire Skyblade VI was shocked and retreated thousands of meters to the rear. The space-time barrier that did not react to the antimatter bomb attack of the Teodi Legion became much weaker at this moment. The other party has twisted time and space. Angel Leng, who was observing everything in Skyblade VI, immediately reported. Lena, it seems that your attack cannot be used casually, Killing reminded. Reina's attack was powerful. The power of the attack just now was much more terrifying than the antimatter bomb. It was a giant flare bombing level attack. But such an attack could not hurt the enemy but turned around to attack their own spacecraft. Then this attack became useless. These triangles are too weird. Reina felt a little depressed. She had finally regained some confidence through the battle with Nusa in the Angel Nebula. Now she tried again, but the attack she just launched failed. This made her confidence disappear immediately. It's okay, I will provide you with a way to resolve it, Li Qingyun said, and a stronger energy burst out from his body at this moment. These energies did not directly attack the triangles, but changed the space in the surrounding area, allowing the triangles to naturally change the surrounding time and space, completely eliminating it. Now, attack again, Li Qingyun gave the order again. This time, after hearing Li Qingyun's order, Reina hesitated more than before. But this was Li Qingyun's order, and although the previous attack was ineffective, it only caused a little shock to Skyblade number 6, and did not cause any actual casualties. Therefore, Lena chose to do as Li Qingyun said. She raised her hands and shot out a giant flare-level beam of light again. Chapter 300, one sentence rewrites the essence of the triangle. Boom. A huge explosion sounded instantly, and a huge triangle was blown away at this moment. The distorted space around it completely disappeared at this moment. After losing the outer layer of protection, it had no way to avoid Reina's damage. Unable to avoid, even if its body was extremely huge, it was still difficult to withstand the damage under Reina's giant flare bombardment. This huge triangle was actually blown up half of its body under Reina's bombardment. While the body was destroyed, the life of this triangle also disappeared at this moment. Success! Qingyun looked at the blown triangle and immediately shouted excitedly. Ha ha ha! Reina also laughed. Without the ability to change the direction of the attack, these triangles are nothing great. Reina's self-confidence is back, and the proud and middle school Reina, the sun's light, is back again. Hurry up and launch the attack. These triangles are too big and powerful. If they continue to attack like this, the two sky blades will not be able to hold on, Angel Ling urged. In this war against the triangles, although the two sides had just started to contact, they had already realized that the triangles were much more powerful than the so-called sky scum they had dealt with before. Got it. Reina understood what Angel Ling was worried about, and did not say much at the moment, and directly began to prepare for the next attack. Lock on the target, Sunlight Reina, construct a concept strike, and create a logical dead loop. A brand new triangle, a triangle of the size of a human, suddenly appeared beside Reina. That's right, it directly crossed the space-time barrier of Skyblade number 7, and entered the interior of Skyblade number 7. It just moved casually, and a huge aperture flew out directly from its forehead and shot towards Reina. Reina had no time to react. The light circle immediately entered her body, and the way her energy was running was immediately greatly affected. The attack she had prepared also failed at this moment. What kind of energy is this? Why is my divine body out of control? Reina only felt that all her energy was out of control at this moment, and the super genes in her body became extremely disordered, as if she was about to lose all her abilities as a super soldier and become an ordinary person. This is a quasi-void attack. Li Qingyun's figure appeared beside Reina. One of his hands gently rested on Reina's body. An invisible force immediately merged into Reina's body at this moment, and immediately repaired the disordered energy in her body. Li Qingyun had a detailed understanding of the triangles, and naturally knew the abilities of these triangles. Death Carl has studied the void for tens of thousands of years, but the triangular bodies have known how to control these void forces since the moment they formed civilization. This is the same triangular body as the one I killed before. In the civilization system of Model Blue, you should be a general. Li Qingyun looked at the triangular body in front of him and immediately analyzed its identity and status. In Model Blue, there are dozens of people like me. You can kill Ankam, and maybe you can kill me, but can you kill dozens of us by yourself? Can you kill our king? This triangular body did not have any fear. These triangular bodies are born not to care too much about life and death. What they care about is the development of civilization, the expansion of territory, and the will of the king. Their thinking is similar to that of the Zerg. The will of the king has an absolute dominant position for them, and it will make all of their triangular bodies executed at the cost of their lives. Dozens of you, Li Qingyun said, but there was no tension in his tone. The genetic data of each class of your triangle is almost exactly the same, right? Li Qingyun asked, and the triangle opposite, upon hearing what Li Qingyun said, froze in place. Although it is the same, our abilities and fighting methods are not exactly the same, the triangle said, and then shook its body in an instant, and black circles of light immediately shot towards Li Qingyun. It wanted to disrupt Li Qingyun's thinking, even though it didn't know what Li Qingyun was thinking at the moment, but it understood that these thoughts of Li Qingyun would definitely be a great threat to their triangle. Chaos magic. Li Qingyun's mind moved, and a burst of scarlet energy immediately emanated from his body. This is chaos magic, one of the most powerful energies in the Marvel Universe, and it is an existence that can directly change the pattern of the entire Marvel world. And now, Li Qingyun is activating this chaos magic, and the way he uses it is soul search. This scarlet energy invaded the body of the triangle in front of him. At the same time, dozens of general-level triangles in the Model Blue also had red energy on their bodies. Chaos magic directly modified the reality of this triangle. It connected this triangle and all other triangles with the same genes as it. Start the Void Controller time, redefine the data of the triangle, modify its gene probability, and rewrite the probability in the direction of the birth of wisdom. Li Qingyun's voice sounded in the Super Gene system, and the entire time platform immediately began to modify these triangles according to what Li Qingyun said. The triangles are just dolphins. They have no probability at all to evolve into real intelligent creatures. Li Qingyun said this sentence in a seemingly ordinary way. But it was this sentence that instantly changed the entire mottled blue situation. All the dozens of generals of the triangles, their bodies, all began to degenerate at the moment when Li Qingyun's words came out. The triangles at this moment gradually degenerated into the original primitive forms, and they became lovely dolphins again. The appearance of this scene made all the angels in Skyblade number 7 speechless. In the mottled blue ocean, in a huge palace, a blue triangle floating in the center of the palace began to swim restlessly at this moment. Li Qingyun's words changed the reality of their triangles. With just one sentence, he turned the evolution of their triangles for tens of thousands of years into a joke. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.